This is brought to you by Vertiball. Head on over to their website. It's vertiball.com. And listen, it's an awesome product. It's a local company out of New Brunswick, Canada. So make sure you support those guys locally as well as Fight Night Picks. But they're the only mountable portable muscle massager. They can stick on any smooth surface. They've got an industrial strength suction cup. Can support over 100 pounds of pressure. You can get really into those deep knots. I have one here at home. I use it for my back and my shoulders from holding up that Fight Night Picks Pick'em trophy. But listen, make sure you check them out. It's a great product. Like I said, they're recommended by physiotherapists, masseuses, and chiropractors across Canada, the US, UK, and Australia. And they're used by countless professional athletes like Minka Fitzpatrick on screen there, as well as Clellan Farrell of the Raiders. So if you head into the cart, make sure you check them out. So I've got a Vertiball massager in my cart right there. Use the promo code FNP. You're going to save 10% off your order. You're supporting this company here that I'm very passionate about in New Brunswick, Canada, and you're helping out us as well. So make sure you check them out, vertiball.com, promo code FNP, 10% off your order. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Michael Chandler with a beautiful shot. Dan Hooker is down and he is hurt.
Oh!
Okay.
Chandler's got him
Yeah,
rocked.
no.
Chandler by TKO. Wow! What a debut by Michael Chandler. UFC lightweight. Holy smoke! Wow!
He just flatlined it with the right hand.
Herb Dean, come on, man!
Masvidal's out.
Oh boy!
Wow.
That was an Askren level finish. Oh, he knocks him down.
Hand by Francis. He's got him hurt.
He's going after the finish.
boy.
Big uppercut from Ngannou. Stipe engages.
Stipe hurt him.
Oh, he dropped him. Ngannou's your champion.
Wow.
Francis Ngannou's the heavyweight champion.
Stipe cold.
Wow! What a finish, man! 9-1 in the night. Hayden doing the question mark kicks parlay hit. Fight night picks. Wow!
Wow.
Francis Ngannou. Holy smokes! Oh man, give him the stool.
Who knew Patient Francis? A scary man.
Let's get into it. Wow! All right, Matt, and we are having the worst night in Fight Night Picks history. I mean, straight up, it's a 1-6 start. We got 6 wrong in a row. It is the worst night. But let's try and rebound and enjoy our main card, Matt. UFC 262, as always, one half of your hosting duo, Craig Allen. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Craig Allen FNP. Matt Allen to my left, to your right, Matt Allen FNP on the Twitter and the Instagram. And people have flooded it with just dirty, awful messages. But listen, sometimes it happens, apparently. We will see what comes up in our main card. But Matt, it is a great card. Barboza, Burgos to kick us off. I can't wait for it.
That fight's next. And listen, that's the fight that I'm probably the most excited for in the whole card, other than the main event, I guess. Edson Barboza, one of the best strikers just ever. And I got a little bit of pushback for saying that, but like, honestly, the speed 10 out of 10, power 10 out of 10, like he has everything you look for when you look for a really dynamic striker. And with Shane Burgos, you love the pressure, you love the boxing, like that fight to open up this pay-per-view, you know it's going to be absolute fireworks. I couldn't be more excited.
2 beers. Did Grundy try and take him down? Oh, time and time again, and it didn't work out all that great. So the QMK parlay's off. The picks are absolutely off the rails, but we will continue on. Michael Chaplow, what's going on? A great article by Michael Chaplow on the site Fight Night Picks about the bear, Alexander Karelin, and that's a great one. Still gets hits to these day. That makes a lot of sense. But Matt, getting ready for this main card, of course, you have Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler, the former Bellator champ, the man himself that had so much experience, so much success at 45, just couldn't really get over the hump with some of the best fighters, and then he moves up to 55, and yes, as you mentioned, I mean, since 2017, the one loss at 55 against Paul Felder, but since then, holy smokes, he has been on an absolute heater.
No, he really has been, and that's why this fight's going to be absolutely phenomenal. The only fight on this main card that, like, listen, it is what it is. Kayla Chukagian, Viviane Araújo should be interesting because here's the thing. We already had a great fight at the women's flyweight division, so you know what they're fighting for now. You know that they're going to be comparing themselves to the great performance that Adrian Lee had earlier on in the card. So I think that fight's going to be an extremely exciting one because if you're Kayla Chukagian, you know Adrian Lee does a lot of the things you do. And yes, Adrian Lee was on a losing streak, so I'm not saying she should get ready to fight Kayla Chukagian next, but when you already have a great fight in your own division earlier on in the night, you know that the fight's going to be great.
SC Shoop, if you got Lando at a plus 130 and you went live on it, good job there. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Dan has Charlie Olives, Tony, and Bontorin that's going to be an interesting fight as well. But Matt, we have our main event up in front of us for the title. Charlie Olive's taking on Michael Chandler, and for Chandler to come in like this, 2 fights, title shot, wow. And the way he was able to do it against Dan Hooker, I mean, yeah, they were going to be past the victory, but you hear him talk in some of the pre-fight chatter, and yes, he's pretty well dominated the UFC's content in the build-up to this fight. Michael Chandler doing a lot of training in Southpaw these days.
He really has, which is interesting. And with a guy like Michael Chandler, you know how much power he has in his punches. So if he can just really double the amount of weapons he has by going Southpaw that much more, you know that that's just, not only going to double his weapons, but give his opponent so many more looks. And that's the big thing with Michael Chandler. If he can make Charles Oliveira think about the wrestling, think about the striking, think about him switching stances, it's just going to start to override what Charles Oliveira can do. I'm stuck saying Charlie Olives all of a sudden. What Charles Oliveira is going to do. So again, I could not be more excited for this main event, and it will be interesting. The lightweight champ has just been Khabib for the longest time. It's felt like it's been okay. Conor, Khabib, Tony Ferguson's been in the wings, but now it feels like the lightweight division is sort of moving on. And the great thing too is Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler have barely fought anyone in the top 10 yet. There's so many other fresh matchups for both these guys moving forward, no matter what the result of tonight's main event. So again, that's what's really exciting.
And I mean, the crazy thing too at 55 is the fact that you talk about the division's so fluid. I mean, with a couple of wins for Fiziev, boom, you're right up there.
Yeah.
For Gregor Gillespie coming back after a lot of time off, looking great against Diego Ferreira.
You've long believed Kevin Lee could become champ
in that second round. Now, Kevin Lee fishing for fights at 170, so we'll see how
Sean Brady said
plays.
About.
Sean Brady wants it, but yeah, if we're focusing on this card, Matt, pulling it back, going with the first fight there, holy smokes, Matt the Mixing, anyone else just donating money to Vegas by now? I know I already did, so yeah, that's been the story of the night. Worst night for Fight Night picks, but hey, you look ahead to next weekend, 14 total fights. At least they've kind of filled some of the gaps. You're not just going with 12 or 11 and then whittling it down from there. We'll see how that one plays out. You got a great main event. Rob Font taking on Cody Garbrandt.
Ooh.
In the co-main event, you have Shabazian taking on Jack Hermanson, a fight that they've rebooked. So that should be a great one. Voodoo's saying the fight I'm waiting on is Chandler Poirier. That'd be a great fight.
That would. I want Chandler Gaethje. That's long been one that I've been waiting for, because when Gaethje first came over to the UFC, there was a rumor that he might sign in Bellator, basically only to fight Michael Chandler. Like, that was a real rumor out there. Michael Chandler was like, oh man, I really hope we sign him. Of course, that never came to fruition, but it would be really nice. Chandler and Gaethje are both champions outside the UFC, if you will, at around the same time, so that fight would be insane.
Brandon LeBlanc hanging out in the chat too. Hey, Brandon. You know, once the world opens up again, I want Brandon LeBlanc on this show. Ooh. I really do. The little snake in the grass, that'd be a great ad. But Matt, again, when we're focusing on this fight, and I know Brandon, Mike, you'll both agree, I mean, you have Shane Burgos and Edson Barboza, 2 guys that can really get it done in a lot of different ways. And it was interesting to hear some of the pre-fight stuff. We ended our show, we pulled up Ariel, and he had John Anik on. And John Anik was talking about Shane Burgos and the fact that you might see some grappling out of Shane Burgos. You never know.
No, we're not, Craig. I'm sorry. If you believe that, you're buying Wolf tickets.
You also said that Lee was going to beat Shevchenko. Wolf tickets. And
no, I didn't. I said Shevchenko was going to beat Lee.
Muniz was going to be able to...
But that's fine. I get the Muniz thing wrong because Jacare got hurt. But the difference is that Shane Burgos isn't a guy who's just all of a sudden going to change his MMA game plan with one camp. Muniz is a lifelong jiu-jitsu black belt. It's very different. Burgos is okay at grappling, but he's not going to go there and just secure takedowns on a guy like Edson Barboza. He might be the more likely of the two to go for the takedown, but I don't think one training camp's going to all of a sudden change the game of Shane Burgos. I think he said that maybe to put it into Edson Barboza's head that maybe he's going to shoot, but no. Shane Burgos is going to do what he always does. He's going to pressure forward, he's going to throw a few leg kicks, he's going to be really heavy with his boxing combinations, and that's about it. But it is going to be an absolutely wild fight, and for Barboza too, probably should have beat Dan Ige. You beat Makwan Amirkhani. This is just a really great way to get your name back up there by beating another top guy in the featherweight division.
If we move into our next fight, Caitlin Chukagian taking on Viviane Araújo. And Matt, both strikers, both differing styles, and that's what makes this matchup a lot of fun. And again, if you do want to compare it to another fight that we had earlier on at 125 pounds, you had Lee taking on Shevchenko, and you saw it in the first round. The striking exchanges, they were relatively close. You could see Shevchenko landing with a little bit of power. Lee landed that nice kick. She was able to kind of win through, and then all of a sudden, we're just going Montserrat Conejo with those judo throws, just getting her down there, able to get the triangle, get the win. But Matt, you have Caitlin Chukagian, Viviane Araújo. I can't wait to see how this one plays out, because with Chukagian, tons and tons of volume, likes to pump the jab, likes to all around the cage. Araújo, maybe not the best at cutting the cage, but she can always tend to land with power unless that power bar of hers goes down. I'm eager to see this fight.
She's not good at cutting the cage at all, Craig. Let's just call it what it is. Viviane Araújo couldn't cut the cage off on Jessica Ai, guys. Jessica Ai. And with Araújo, she's one of those, she's a rhythm fighter. And like, for instance, basketball players, if once you get into a rhythm and once you get hot, you just kind of know what you're doing. You don't really think about it. Just things happen. With Viviane Araújo, that's kind of like her combinations. Normally at the start of the fight, it takes her a little while to get heated up and to really get settled into the fight. And that's the important thing for Araújo. If she can get settled into it, she has great strikes. But with Caitlin Chukagian, she's always moving and never really letting you plant and throw. That it's going to be really hard for Araújo to get settled into this fight to begin with. But it should be an interesting fight because for Chukagian, she's kind of stuck right now. You're better than the majority of the fighters at this division, but we saw what happened when you fight Jessica Andrade. You get knocked out in the first round by a body shot. And we saw what happened when you fight Valentina Shevchenko. You get absolutely dominated and crucifixed. So she's in a really weird position in this division because I feel like she could beat anybody who's not in the top 5, but those top 2 fighters are always going to be a little bit better than Chukagian, so it will be interesting to see who they match her up with moving forward.
Well, let's move it forward. We got a fight, Matt, and really, I'm assuming they're going to call it a catch weight. If they do announce it, maybe they call it bantamweight, but Rogerio Bontorin missing weight, coming in at 137 pounds. Max Schnell, obviously under the limit. Both of these guys very dynamic and both proven finishers as well. Schnell, little bit of striking. Sometimes he gets a little bit more happy with his hands than maybe a Schnell fan would like to see. A guy that's been spending a lot of time training at Fortis MMA for this one. I know that's going to be a big difference maker. And Saif Saud last weekend had a ton of success with his fighters. And even recently, I mean, on the pay-per-view stage, Uriah Hall getting a big win. Unfortunate that these middleweight stars from the past are getting hurt and really like career-altering injuries on these pay-per-views. But again, Fortis kind of doing quite well. And if you look at it for Rogerio Bontorin, not really coming out of the biggest gym you've heard of out of Brazil, Gil Ribeiro. But yeah, I'm really eager to see this fight.
Bontorin got KO'd 2 months ago. This is what everyone needs to know. Normally when you get knocked out, you get a medical suspension. You have to serve that medical suspension. When you're given a medical suspension, you have 2 of them. You have one suspension where it is for X amount of days with no contact, for instance. And then you'll have another suspension where it is until you get X injury cleared, where you can't get back into active competition. Bontorin got knocked out. He got knocked out not very long ago. So my issue is, what kind of a training camp could he have really had if you can't be training with contact? And I understand he's probably breaking those rules, but still, if you're getting hit in the gym and you're never really giving your brain the chance to recover, and you're never giving your body the chance to recover, what version of Rogerio Bontorin are we going to get in this fight with Matt Schnell? He has looked better as of late. The one thing I always worry about with him is his durability, but you look back at the Tyson Nam fight, like, Tyson Nam can hit pretty hard. He's a pretty accurate striker, and he had great shots in the chin from Tyson Nam. So for Schnell, I really do think this is going to be a showcase performance for him. But I've been wrong an awful lot tonight, so I probably shouldn't trust my own opinion on this. But I am really excited for this fight because, like you said, both guys are really well-rounded. Like, if this is a 15-minute striking fight, it's going to be a really good fight. If this is a 15-minute grappling fight, it will also be a great fight. So that's what's the most exciting thing about it.
Should be a great one. Sean V saying Schnell is the only fighter on the card with hometown ties to Houston. Miguel going with Rip Burgos' legs. Let's get into it. Will Salinas saying, you guys are good. Will, we appreciate you. You know what? You need a little bit of that on a bad night. It's been a rough one, and Matt, if we move on and look at our next fight, your co-main event of the evening, I know this is the fight that really takes the cake. A lot of people very excited about this one. Of course, you have Tony Ferguson taking on Beneil Dariush. And for Dariush, you look at the record, yeah, has he been wobbled as they show it on screen? Yeah, I mean, listen, Drakkar Klose landed some good shots, and then he knocked him out. I mean, you look at the fight against James Vick, knocks him out completely cold. And then you look at some of the odd fights. I mean, Alexander Hernandez was able to clock him. He has been finished in the past. His jiu-jitsu, very, very good. Frank the Crank Camacho found that one out. Scott's Hot Sauce Holtzman getting finished. And Brandon LeBlanc saying, we need more fight milk. And listen, I think Cowboy Cerrone needs it a little bit, and maybe Paul Felder too. We get to see Paul Felder back in, but that co-main event, holy smokes, what a fight.
If anyone needs fight milk on this card, it's Tony Ferguson. That man needs fight milk to revitalize his career, because hey, I don't know what's in those crows. A lot of HGH is the rumor, but he needs a career kind of revitalization type of a performance, because for Tony Ferguson, you were at the top of the hill, and it was a weird hill that he was on top of. It's like you climbed K2. You got to the top of the hill, but it wasn't Everest. Like, you got the interim title. And for Tony Ferguson, arguably one of the greatest lightweights of all time, but he's never been able to hold that undisputed title. So it's kind of wild. When you look at a fighter like Tony Ferguson, if a fighter with his skills fought at light heavyweight, for instance, he'd be the greatest fighter of all time. It wouldn't even be close. But the fact that he's at lightweight and it's such a stacked division, and there's fighters like the likes of Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Conor McGregor, Tony Ferguson himself, like these are generational talents. It seems all kind of in their primes at the same time. So it tells you how hard it really is to get into that elite title picture. And for Ferguson, you were there. You've lost a few. How do you get that motivation back? I'm a big fan of basketball. You guys all know that. And The Last Dance is pretty much all about just Michael Jordan being like, hey, I'm really, really good, but I had to get motivated to really get up and go for those big challenges. For Tony Ferguson, I question the motivation at this stage of his career because, like I said, you've been to the top of that mountain. You've had the performance bonuses. You're one of the most famous fighters of all time. Like, what more do you have to prove?
Switching it over to wildcard boxing, I mean, working out with the man himself, and we'll see him here tonight, Freddie Roach. But Matt, I mean, when we focus back on the first fight on our main card, looking like the old Sugar Shane Burgos taking on...
It's Hurricane Shane.
I understand that it is, but he's taking on Edson Barboza. Can he bring some of the sugar for the coffee? I mean, if you look at it, the straw that usually stirs the drink is Edson Barboza in his fights. And if we'll go that way, we'll go that way. Scarecrow, 100th pay-per-view as a non-casual. Wow.
For you.
It's crazy. But with Shane Burgos, again, on his regional, run that he was able to have. He was able to submit some guys. You've seen it here in the UFC. He's been able to earn some wins by submission, but it's really his crisp boxing, his great combinations, his cardio, his toughness, and his heart. Things that you rarely ever hear about. Those are things that can sway some of his fights. You absolutely love them. I know for Brandon, for Mike, you were there with me in Boston when we got to see Calvin Kattar put on some work against Shane Burgos, but really, the guy's an all-action type of fight. And for Edson Barboza, there are a lot of these highlights that we see where there's some sponsors on the trunks, but the guy's had some good fights, even of late, and a lot of people dispute that Dan Ige loss.
Okay, there have been sponsors on the trunks since UFC 189. If he didn't have any highlights since then, Craig, he would not be fighting right now. So, yes, it's weird, though, because for Edson Barboza, is he better at lightweight or is he better at featherweight? It's a really important question because I thought he was a pretty big lightweight to begin with. I was kind of surprised when he did decide to move down to featherweight. But I've also got to be honest, I thought he beat Dan Ige, and I didn't actually think that fight was particularly close. So I was sort of surprised when it did go to Dan Ige because I thought Edson Barboza did a lot more damage in that fight. With Barboza, though, he can be held on his back. He was held on his back in the Dan Ige fight. So maybe Shane Burgos tries to shoot for a takedown at some point. But in my mind, Shane Burgos is... When I think of MMA boxers, Shane Burgos is one of the first guys who comes to mind. Not because of his boxing technique, but more the fact is he just doesn't throw kicks at all. So it'll be really interesting to see how does he fight at range with a guy like Edson Barboza. Because Barboza at range, he not only has a good jab, he's got a good lead straight hand too. He'll lead with the straight. He won't always set up with the jab. But the kicks, of course, to the body and to the leg. How's Burgos going to, A, counter those kicks, probably with punches, but B, how's he going to react to the pressure of Barboza? Because if Barboza's the one moving forward, I haven't seen Shane Burgos strike moving backwards all that effectively. Yes, he can, don't get me wrong. But when Shane Burgos is in control, we all know he's moving forward, throwing combinations, really putting his hands together. With Barboza, he can counter moving backwards a little bit. We know how good he is with countering with those knees and elbows. So I'm really interested to see, A, who's moving forward in this fight, and B, how do both guys react to the other guy's pressure?
And it will be very interesting because, again, usually if you can cut the center of the cage, one of these guys is going to be able to come out on top. And especially in the bigger cage in front of the crowd here in Texas, man, we've had some great fights. Adams JATX asking, how many prime Brock Lesnar's do you think it would take to beat a silverback gorilla in the octagon?
4.
6?
6?
Let's split it down the middle. Let's say 5. 5 Brock Lesnar's. And, yeah, it would take all 5 of them to do an F5 on a silverback gorilla.
It would probably take 5 silverback gorillas to take 1 Brock Lesnar, for being honest. I'd look at that the other way around.
How has anyone ever beat Barboza? There's some ways. They're out there. Voodoo saying, lads, tell me this. Does UFC have no say on who judges the fights? It's the commission's decision. Yeah.
They can put in recommendations to the commission, but they can't actually oversay who is there because that'd be a massive conflict of interest and it would be extremely illegal because they couldn't say like, hey, we want our judges when Conor McGregor fights and we want him to win. Like, that's how you end up with boxing. So, yeah, no, you can't be doing that.
Michael's saying that it would take 8 silverback gorillas. But listen, again, if this is the first time that you've tuned in, what we're going to do, we're going to be flipping between screens. You can see Bontorin and Schnell there. Obviously, it will be Burgos and the man himself, Edson Barboza. We're going to be doing something like this where, boom, the logo's gone. The timer comes up. If there's a groin shot or there's a stoppage or time out, yeah, I mean, we're going to have to play by ear, but that's the way it goes. A final look, Matt, at this, the first fight on our main card. Shane Burgos, Edson Barboza. I mean, the experience definitely lies with the Brazilian in this fight. You talked about the size advantage, or, you know, the difference where Barboza, formerly the lightweight, moving down to featherweight later on in his career. Bit of a squabble as far as his contract was concerned. Not that long ago, but it seems like he's back in it for the long haul with the UFC. You get a little bit more of a look at the particulars as far as finish wins in the octagon. The way that Barboza getting it done by knockout, much more than any other way. Big Papa saying, what's up, boys? Couple of tough ones. Looking up, though. Oh, yeah, it's been a rough one. We go through it as far as significant strikes are concerned. Shane Burgos is one of those guys that it's just a lot of volume, but he also eats a lot of shots, and you have to worry about that.
You can't let Shane Burgos get confident early on in a fight, because once he does get confident, it is that kind of downhill effect where once he does get rolling, it just gets worse and worse and worse. He's kind of like Max Holloway. Now, no, he would get boxed up by Max Holloway very bad, but in the same effect where once things start going their way, it's really hard to get the momentum back from them. And against a guy like Edson Barboza, you talk about the fact that he does eat damage, even though he is really good at putting it out. That's what worries me in this fight. Everyone talks about the boxing of Shane Burgos, and listen, I do too. Edson Barboza's boxing is pretty good on the inside, and he has one combination that I think is going to land a lot. He goes body, head every now and then, and he's really good at landing that left hook. I think he's going to loop one around and catch Shane Burgos at some point.
Brandon, we appreciate you in the super chat, and that means a lot. Hey, it's a lot of fun to do these fight companions, and listen, were we a little down before we came on? Yeah, a little bit. It's a rough night, but we're really enjoying it. Leonardo, means a lot that you can be here as well. Joe Dirt saying, hit that like button, Matt. Great fight. Shane Burgos taking on Edson Barboza. And we talk about it. I mean, age in MMA, the fights that he's had, the Terry Edom knockout. And it was kind of funny. We were talking about it before the show. The fact that Mike Grundy had Terry Edom in his corner. How awkward does that have to be, you know, backstage if Barboza's going by him? But I'm sure, listen, everything's made up now. But you look at a fight like this, and with Barboza, you talk about it. It's the kickboxing. It's a complete game for Shane Burgos. Will we see the takedowns? And this should be one of the best fights. I mean, we had this circled as a possible fight of the night for sure, and it seems like the chat is definitely thinking the same thing. Jeffrey Smith saying Barboza got KO'd by Jamie Varner for his first pro loss.
He was a big favorite.
That's a name that you don't hear much anymore.
You don't. Jamie Varner's one of those, like, weird WEC talents. I know he fought Cowboy Cerrone. I think he lost him. I don't remember. My Jamie Varner knowledge is not where it should be right now. But again, I can't stress just how excited I am. And you kind of touched on it. This will be interesting. You have a guy who was a good size lightweight. Let's just call him an average size lightweight moving down versus a guy in Shane Burgos who's openly admitted, like, as I get older, I'm probably going to have to move up to lightweight. So we talk about how Edson's probably going to be bigger than the majority of his opponents at featherweight. This is one of the few matchups where honestly Shane Burgos matches up very well physically with Edson Barboza.
So if this is the first time that you've tuned in, what we're going to do, you're going to see me pop the logo out in the middle. The 5-minute timer is going to start. You're going to want to sync up where you're at, and you don't want to be much quicker, as we have Mike Beltran, who has that facial hair tucked into his shirt. The professionalism you love to see. All right, Matt, we're getting set for our first fight on the main card. Barboza and Shane Burgos, featherweight action, and two of the most all-action fighters that we do have in this division. And both guys taking center stage
big
early.
leg kick already.
Leg kick. 2 early leg kicks from Barboza against Burgos.
Yeah, those are right to the calf, too. And if Edson Barboza's landing calf kicks on you early on in a fight, things are not going to be going your way.
Landed 3 on the outside of that calf.
Ooh, big left hook, though. Barboza seems to be a little bit wobbly, but maybe that's just how he's moving.
Those leg kicks already taking effect. We're not even 30 seconds into the fight.
Oh, he finally checked one.
And a great job, like you said, inside with 1. There were about 4 that landed on the outside of that leg, and now Burgos wise to the game plan of Barboza, who continues to go for those kicks.
Oh yeah, if you're Barboza, keep on trying to keep this fight at range. Use those kicks to the leg, use to the body too, because we talked about it. One of Burgos' best weapons is his cardio, and if he is able to really start to wear on you as the fight progresses, he's a handful in that 3rd round.
Burgos doing a really good job of landing that right hand when he's able to close distance, but again, those leg kicks really taking effect. Robert saying, you guys always come with the solid picks. This happens. On to the next one. It's never happened this bad, Robert, but I can't wait for the next card. We're about a minute into our first round. Both guys just going at it early.
Burgos is so accurate in the pocket, too. And you know that every single time Burgos throws his hands, you've got to be nervous if you're in the camp of Edson Barboza, because he's not only got power in those shots, he's really accurate, too. And that's something he doesn't really get credit for. When Burgos throws his hands, he doesn't miss an awful lot. He normally does land.
Doing a good job of going upstairs into the body as well. You saw a hook land. Ripping it in there is Shane Burgos. We're at about 3:27 remaining in our first round. These guys are going at it.
They definitely are. And for Barboza, he's got to start getting something else going. Normally likes throwing that left switch kick to the body. This is becoming a lot of a boxing fight just with some leg kicks patterned in. If you're Barboza, I kind of expected he hasn't started to throw more leg kicks and body kicks.
You have more kicks coming in from Barboza. Burgos doing a good job tagging him there with the left too. Now we get into the center of the cage. Spinning wheel kick from Barboza. It doesn't look like it goes to much effect, and you have Burgos clinching up. No strikes on the break.
That turning back kick to the body, though, is a violent weapon for Edson Barboza. We saw him use that really well against Dan Hooker, of course. And again, if he keeps on kicking that leg out from Shane Burgos, Burgos isn't going to have anything to plant on to really throw his power shots as this fight progresses.
Both guys really getting their shots off. Both wing on overhand rights.
Great fight so far, though. These guys are so close together every time they exchange, too. It's kind of wild, because for Barboza, he's using that leg kick, and every time Burgos is just eating it and trying to rush forward with punches.
Burgos doing a good job trying to close distance again. You've got him stalking Barboza into the cage. Nice right hand landed for Barboza, but he's starting to get marked up by that right eye. Brandon LeBlanc saying Burgos' jab is on point. 100% it is.
Yeah, Burgos is just doing a really good job of landing at range, and that was the thing you had to wonder, what's he going to do when they are far apart? Because you knew Barboza would answer with the leg kick. So for Burgos, good on him for just doing stuff in the open point. Great hooks to the body from Shane Burgos.
My favorite strike in all of MMA, the nice left hook to the body. Burgos doing a great job of that. Barboza starting to paw at his right eye. You don't like to see it if you're in the camp of the Brazilian.
You don't. The pressure of Burgos started to get to Barboza a little bit. And again, for Barboza, you got to start trying to land. But again, Burgos landed big hooks to the head of Barboza.
Barboza looks a little wobbled there. It was a 2-strike combo for Shane Burgos, who just continues to apply the pressure. Another hook to the body.
2 good left hooks from Edson, though, to the head. And this is the thing. I think this might be one of those cases where Edson had something land early, and he's going back to the well over and over and over again. If the leg kick lands, yes, it's great. But once your opponent realizes that that's what you're doing, you got to start opening up other avenues for offense.
Yeah, and it is a very tight fight.
Oh! Whoa! Spinning back kick.
Spinning
Shane Burgos
back kick.
eats it, though.
Oh, these guys
overhand
are throwing.
right. Edson Barboza's starting to land, too, with his boxing now. This fight's getting wild.
Holy smokes, we've got ourselves a fight about a minute. Oh, he stuns him!
Edson stuns him with a jab, it seems. This is a wild fight. That's the thing for Burgos. You can't eat power shots from Edson Barboza all night long.
And Burgos, after withstanding the power, lands a kick of his own there.
Yeah, but he's going to need more than
right hand right
from Edson.
Barboza.
Edson's landing with power every single time Burgos is moving forward. But goodness, this is a wild fight. Another overhand. Burgos has got to start getting better defensively. Because he's one of those fighters who eats a lot of shots.
Couple of nice kicks land for Barboza. You got a full bore kick, and you got a bit of a reaction out of Burgos. He's having a hard time moving awfully gingerly on that left foot.
And that's the thing, too. It doesn't just hurt Burgos defensively by getting out of the way of the shots of Barboza. It's hard for him to plant and start to land his own shots, too. So it's going to be really tough for Shane Burgos to overcome that leg.
20 seconds remaining in this first round. Holy smokes, have we got ourselves a fight.
Burgos does have a hell of a chin. He's hit about 4 clean overhand rights from Edson Barboza.
And they're powerful overhand rights, you know that. Ooh, nice left hand lands for Burgos there.
That's the thing, Barboza does a good job circling away, but he does leave his hands low. Like, that's how Justin Gaethje caught him with Burgos. You know how good his boxing is, too.
Ooh, we get the end of our first round, Matt. I can't wait to have a look at these stats. You could see it there, the fact that Barboza with the varied attack, Burgos really landing well to the head.
Oh, he really was. I would say it was a great round, action-packed. I would say Barboza, he seemed to land the more heavy shots out of the two, and he did hurt Burgos. He had him wobbled on a few occasions, but it's not like Burgos is out of this fight. If he just keeps on pressuring, now again, if he keeps on pressuring Edson Barboza and doesn't eat massive shots to the head, he's going to start to wear on Barboza, because you did see, he had success of his own in that round, especially on the inside. So for Burgos, you got to start checking those leg kicks. You're just going to start making Edson Barboza work on the inside.
For me, the questions there, who took the first round, let us know in the comments section. I would say Barboza just off of the heavier shots, but again, we had a 30-27 card for Grundy, so
that's
who knows?
True.
Who knows?
What a crazy round, though. Like, this is going to be the fight of the night, probably. If round 2 is anything like round 1.
Oh, we got both corners taking their time getting out of there.
That's fine. You know what? Those guys are hurt. Let's let them refuel a little bit.
Let's take a couple minutes. Burgos is feeling it. Can't wait for the start of our second round. Want to thank everybody for joining in so far. We really do appreciate it as we get set for round 2 of Burgos Barboza. And again, at the end of that second round, Barboza was doing a good job starting to land. Burgos coming out here quite fast in our second round. Lands a nice left hand.
A good elbow, too, for Barboza. That's something we saw a lot in the Dan Ige fight. And for Burgos, he's probably... This opening to the second round is probably just going to be an extreme of what the first round was. The pressure was working for Burgos, but again, he was getting clipped. So probably just going to see more of the same from both guys.
Yeah, Michael Chaplow bringing up a good point about Jacare, and I mean, you have to think the only fight out there, maybe another one with Weidman. That's about all you can make for those two guys.
Yeah, it just sucks. Like, eventually legends age out. It's too bad. You either die a legend or live long enough to box Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So, it's bad.
About 45 seconds into our second round, and Burgos doing a good job of landing in these exchanges. And I say exchanges, Barboza not really landing a whole lot in our second round.
No, he's not. Burgos doing a really good job making him pay every time he's on the inside. For Barboza, he's got to start throwing those hands a little bit more. He's landing with the kicks well, but again, you got to start making Burgos pay with more than just a single shot.
Burgos doing a really good job, like we said. I mean, he's starting to pressure. You got Barboza behind the two black lines. Never a good spot to be, especially against a great pressure fighter like Burgos, who lands a bit of a jab through the guard. Oof. Quick right hand.
Yeah, Burgos is really starting to load up that right hand. He's trying to get Barboza out of there. He does realize if he's getting close, he can land, but Barboza's doing a good job with his movement on the outside, at least. But
another nice kick lands. That was a low calf kick, and you see Barboza starting to open up with his hands once he's able to land.
Good left hook. See, that's the thing about Barboza. He's got that really nice left hook on the inside. Burgos isn't giving Barboza any respect at the boxing range, and that's the one problem. He's getting clipped with punches, especially on the way in. If he gave him more respect, start using your head a little bit more, almost to bait out his punches, he'd have more success.
The left hand of Burgos continues to find the target. Another one lands with the right kind of winging over the guard.
That's a wild fight so far. Just the absolute pace that these guys are putting on is pretty wild.
2 minutes into our second round. Tight one here, but Burgos doing a much better job in the second round. And listen, you can't take a whole lot away from him in the first hell of a round, but you did see Barboza starting to land. Wobbled Burgos a couple of times. Nice 1-2 down the pipe for Burgos. Lands again. 2:40 remaining in our second.
It's a lot more of the same from Burgos. It's just Barboza's landing a lot less in this round. And for Barboza, the overhand right was a big key to the fight. So was the leg kick. And we really haven't seen either one in the second round so far. So for Barboza, he's just got to become a lot more active.
Nice left hook lands for Shane Burgos there.
Great fight so far. Burgos realizes if he can make this fight a boxing match and not just keep it at range with the kicks, he's going to be a lot more successful.
Yeah, and you've seen Burgos, even in this round, start to land one kick, two kick. Barboza spins out of one.
And for Barboza, yeah, you would think, try to set up your kicks with the punches, because if you end your combination with the kick, it's going to be a lot harder to block, because when Barboza's out on the outside just winging single shots, it's a lot more predictable than if he's on the inside mixing it up with his combos.
Both guys just exchanging in the pocket here. Nice spinning body kick right there from Barboza. The explosive movements here in the second round. Nice couple of shots there for Burgos, too.
Burgos doing a much better job at getting to the inside without accepting a lot of damage in this round. Because in the first round, his hands were low. He was eating a lot of big punches. For Burgos, this got to be the key. Just pitter-patter when you're on the inside and try to avoid the big power of Barboza.
Minute 32 remaining in our second round. And, I mean, the tide has turned in this one.
It definitely has. For Burgos, he was eating so many big shots in that first round, doing a much better job, especially defensively here in the second. And for Barboza, he's just got to become more active. You don't know if you just try to take this round off, get something in the bank for the third, but you'd expect him to have a slightly higher output in the second round.
Burgos doing a great job mixing it up, going head down to the leg. You got a nice couple of shots.
Ooh! See, Barboza finally put it on there, but he needs more of that. He just can't stand on the outside and let Burgos start teeing off on him. He's got to start respecting at least the volume of Burgos.
Definitely respects the power, and we've seen that here so far as Burgos wings a shot wild. 53 seconds, flying knee.
Good knee for Barboza. But again, it's just big action and then nothing, and big action and then nothing. It'd be really nice if he could start going to the body.
Continuation of the second round. Bit of an odd, awkward kick there so far. Adams JTX saying that Barboza's leg is leaking blood. Pretty difficult to see. Is it a Mark Hunt style injury?
It must be. But a wild pace to this fight so far.
Go ahead.
And for Burgos, too, like, he hasn't eaten any of those calf kicks in this round. That's been the most important part. Like, they were eating him up that whole first round, and this second round done a much better job.
And you see the total strike numbers that popped up. I mean, Burgos was behind, so it said, in this round, but really, he has poured on the action. Another spinning wheel kick that just the calf catches the neck, so to speak. Not a whole lot of damage in that one. You have to think that it's if we don't get a finish here, It's probably going to be 1 round apiece.
I would assume it is 1 round apiece. Absolutely wild fight so far. Oh my goodness, Edson's leg is leaking blood.
Yeah, that is an injury that we have seen in MMA. You worry about it with those calf kicks. You worry about it with the shin. I mean, we saw it with Gabriel Benitez, another primary kicker, a little bit higher up on his shin. Luke Rockhold, another guy too, and that really hurt his career. Joe Dirt saying who got round 2. I'd say Burgos round 2.
I'd probably have Burgos round 2, Barboza round 1, but they've been 2 like really close action-packed fights, and for Barboza, that's probably going to make you throw a lot less calf kicks because you do have that massive cut. But again, Barboza just needs more activity in that 3rd round if he expects to win this fight. You can't just be reacting to what Burgos has to throw at you. You have to be the one moving forward at some point in this fight.
You get the spin kick to the body and the highlight pack. I'm really interested to see what the commentary's calling on this one, because the highlights that we're seeing, they're all Barboza highlights, but it seemed to me like the 2nd round was close. Voodoo saying 19-19. Yappa Boy is saying that it's 1-1 apiece, and I agree. Listen, maybe you had Barboza winning it, but yeah, to me it was a clear Burgos round. So we get set for a 3rd and final. And listen, we've had some great fights tonight. This is definitely taking the cake so far as your fight of the night.
Oh, without a doubt. And again, no one's more happy to be in this fight than Shane Burgos himself.
Burgos doing a good job kicking the inside of the lead leg, and Barboza lands a kick of his own.
And you would expect Barboza's team was telling him, like, hey, we need more activity, because he's winging big shots right now.
Leonardo saying that the Brazilian commentary is at 2-0 for Barboza.
Again, round 2 was close. Personally, I thought Burgos did enough to win it, but I think it's either 2-0 Barboza or 1-1. Round 1, I think it's hard to score for Burgos, but again, this fight has been absolutely wild with the pace these guys are fighting at. And these are 2 guys that, yes, they're ranked, 9 and 13 in the division, but you're going to need a pretty good night to beat either one of these guys in the featherweight division.
Kevin Ioli on the tweets, and it seems like most people have it 19-19. Burgos lands a really nice left hand on the entry. Holy smokes, we got something here.
Wild fight so far.
To Burgos' credit, starting to land some of those kicks too.
He is, but Barboza's definitely been more active this round as well, but he can't be eating those right straights from Shane Burgos. Goodness.
Both guys landing kicks, and it seems to be Burgos' first one to the punch there. You got a really nice right hand of Barboza to the body, but geez, this is tough. This is an all-action fight.
Ooh, big right hand from Barboza, and that's the thing. When he's throwing punch... Oh, he hurt him.
Oh,
yeah,
he's hurt.
He's
right done! He's done! Get in there, Mike!
It's over, it's over.
Oh, my
That's
gosh!
Barboza!
What a finish!
Wow!
Wow!
Right. That was
Holy
a cleaner.
Smokes! Oh, my gosh!
Wow! Burgos was hurt bad from that punch.
You hope that Burgos is all right after that. That's one of the tougher knockouts, and he's back up to his feet, but... Holy smokes. Oh my goodness.
Edson Jr. Barboza at featherweight in the 3rd round. Whoever said he doesn't have cardio, I'm sorry. Here's my thing. I said it in question mark kicks. I've been wrong a lot, Craig, so let me take this one. I said Edson Barboza is probably going to be in the 2nd round, hopping and popping. He's going to be breathing through his mouth, but he's still going to have big power in that 3rd round. What a performance from Edson Jr. Barboza at the featherweight division against a guy who's notoriously tough. Here's the fight that I need to see. I don't know if Zabit Magomed Sharipov is ever going to fight again. Hopefully he does, because he has a phenomenal skill set. I need to see that man and Edson Barboza locked in a cage together, because I think it would be a great time. And if I don't get that fight, I need Edson Barboza and Yair Rodriguez, because that would also be insane. But Edson Barboza at featherweight is a legit problem.
Wow, what a win for Barboza. And for Shane Burgos, he's had his chin checked in 2 fights in a row, and he had a lengthy layoff after that Josh Emmett fight.
I don't like what I'm about to say, but Shane Burgos is one of those guys who has to, he's going to become Thomas Almeida if he doesn't change something. Because for Almeida, it was, you can have those crazy fights, but at a certain point, you take so much damage, they just can't take it anymore. You can have crazy fights, but then when you fight guys like Josh Emmett, who, I don't know if you know this, Craig, but when you fight Josh Emmett, you can't eat clean shots. And guys like Edson Barboza, again, spoiler alert, Craig, if you don't know a lot about MMA, Edson Barboza hits very, very hard. So for Burgos, I just think defensively, I'm not saying do what you do, like Tony Ferguson did, be like, hey, wildcard boxing, you need to get better defensively, but he's got to figure out something.
Man, what a win for Edson Barboza. Holy smokes. And I mean, Mike saying, did Burgos cut a lot of weight for this fight?
He always does.
He is a big fighter there. Brandon saying that's resulted in a lot of head injuries, for sure. Benjamin saying that's pretty scary, actually. Yeah, it was. And Jack Reinhardt. I love these guys. I'm a fan. I appreciate you, Jack Reinhardt.
Edson Barboza is a very fun fighter to watch.
Oh, man.
That is the truth.
What a win for the Brazilian. And I mean, hey, now he strings together 2 fights at 145 pounds, albeit against a short notice Makwan Amirkhani. Now against a legit test in a back and forth in a fight of the night contest against Shane Burgos. I mean, wow. Voodoo saying that Josh Emmett fight must have changed him. Josh Emmett does change a lot of people, though.
This is my problem. It wasn't even the Josh Emmett fight. Like the Calvin Kattar fight, he eats a bunch of clean shots. This is something else that I brought up, and I had pushback. Kurt Holloway dropped him in their fight. Like, Shane Burgos is just bad defensively. I don't think it's a case of having a bad or a good chin. I just think it's, if you eat a lot of shots and you have your hands down and you start eating overhand rights, you're going to start going down. And against Edson Barboza, we talked about him. He's a guy who knocks out lightweights, not just featherweights. So Edson's going to hit you clean, and you're normally going to fall down. For Burgos, it's interesting, right? Does he move back up, or not back up? Does he move up to lightweight? It was a conversation coming into this fight, at least. It's a weird kind of conversation, because for Burgos, still a young guy, still has a lot more to do in his career, you would assume. And I also think he's a really talented mixed martial artist. So for Burgos, you don't really know what he does next. I am concerned at least about the damage that he has been taking. But again, Edson Barboza probably should be on a 3-fight winning streak at featherweight. If he beat Dan Ige, I'm just saying this right now, we probably could be having the Korean Zombie versus Edson Barboza, which...
And you've already got a Korean Zombie fight, like you said.
With
that
Dan
Ige fight, it really matters. So... yeah, I mean...
So that's my point. Like, Edson Barboza is going to be fighting a lot of the top guys at 145. Maybe Giga Chikadze is like, hey, I'm pretty good at striking too, but there's so many good, just really fights out there for Edson at 145. It's wild, because it was weird too. He was a guy, he just fought everybody at 155.
Apparently Edson Barboza's name now is Trey the Truth. He's a Houston rapper, so... yeah. What an insane win for Edson Barboza. And like you said, I think that's a great setup. I mean... Edson Barboza is one of those guys, you put him on the main card of a pay-per-view, you put him in a co-main or a main event slot in a fight night. He's a guy that I would think would draw. I mean, the hardcores know him. Again, poor Terry Edom knows him all too well. And now Shane Burgos is another guy that you add to that list. But that right hand he was able to land there, just totally sending him back. The jab, right hand.
Clean.
Man, a jab, right hook. And really... jab, right hook, that was Shane Burgos' method of attack a lot of tonight.
Again, I don't want to say I said it, but I've been wrong a lot, so finally I've been right. He's got great box. Like, Edson Barboza's not a bad boxer. People know him for his kicks, but he's got really good hands. He's got a lot of power in his hands. And people thought, like, oh, okay, sorry, but I'm going to call you out. SC Shoop got Burgos on the questionable chin list. Take him off, though. He just ate about 45 clean overhand rights from Edson Barboza. I don't think that means you have a questionable chin. Moving forward, it's more of a question of how much damage has he taken. I don't think it's a question of does he have a bad chin. That's
all right, Matt. Well, we look at our next fight, and listen, I get it. There's some people out there, they're not as hot to trot on this one as maybe I am or you am. But Caitlin Chukagian, Viviane Araujo. Now there's Trey the Truth. Listen, and Matt Serra sitting in the crowd, because apparently Matt Serra sits in the crowd. That's an interesting one. You've got, listen, Megan Anderson sitting next to Uriah Hall, and then behind, Kevin Holland's here. The whole crew's here. But, Matt, we look at this one. Caitlin Chukagian, Viviane Araujo. It's an interesting fight. It's a fight that's going to happen. It's a fight that they made you pay for. Conan Song with the $5 super chat saying, is there anyone on the roster with defense as sus as Burgos?
Is
Adolfo Vieira?
Okay, there you go. We threw out 2 names. I don't know if Rockhold's still a rostered fighter, but he would definitely qualify.
All right, Cash, you're out.
Which fight?
Yeah, I mean, you're out, but yeah. See you later. Well, you're going to have a fight between Caitlin Chukagian and Viviane Araujo coming up next. And for Araujo, we've seen this with some of these top flyweights. A little bit older. I know Chukagian is as well, but for Viviane Araujo coming in here at 34, you got Chukagian at 32. I mean, again, they do say your physical prime, as far as fighting's concerned, physical maturity, it peaks at 26. You really hit it at 32, something like that, right? That sounds right.
Who said that? Craig wanted out of that sentence so bad after he started it. Here's the thing. For Caitlin Chukagian, she's the much more experienced fighter out of these two, although Viviane Araujo is the older fighter. And for Araujo, she's a good fighter, and she has good skills, but again, she has to get into that rhythm. And I dislike a fighter who can't just go out there and get the fight on their own. She has to kind of settle into it and then get a rhythm going. And once she does get a rhythm going, yes, she has good power for the division. Yes, she has good technique. I just don't like her overall output. And when I worry about a fighter's output in a division where really the fights come down to how good is your output, it's hard to pick Araujo in this fight. And the fact that I did see her get outstruck by Jessica Ai, and I know I fed that horse quite a bit, but Jessica Ai's not a good striker at all, and the fact that she was able to outstrike Araujo, I understand it came down to she was just frustrating Araujo with her pressure, but that was a big concern for me. And if you're going into a fight trying to outstrike someone like Caitlin Chukagian, I just don't think you're going to be able to do it.
Now, Matt, on the UFC broadcast, for some reason, Forrest Whitaker and the guy that looks kind of like, Forrest, a guy that looks like Teddy Long, former general manager of SmackDown. They're fighting zombies. I have no idea what's going on over there. So if we do focus on the fight, again, Chukagian, Araujo, the 5-on in for both fighters. For Viviane Araujo, 4-1. For Chukagian, 3-2. One of them a title fight. The other lost to a really tough out Jessica Andrade. That punch to the body that sent her packing. If we have a look at the Tapology votes, 4,091, 70% Chukagian, 90% Haver to win by decision. It should be a very interesting fight. Diego's saying Caitlin's younger, but she moves like the older, slower fighter. And if you talk about fighters, and again, we talked about it earlier on, sometimes you just got to fight the Alexis Davises of the division, and we've seen fights like that. Chukagian fought her in the past. That was a split win for Chukagian.
She also beat Arena Aldana at 135 pounds. Why does no one talk about that? Like, Arena Aldana headlined against Holly Holm, and people were like, oh, she's going to fight for the title. Like, maybe she could beat Amanda Nunes. So wait, you're telling me she could beat Amanda Nunes, but Caitlin Chukagian outstruck her at 135 pounds? No one gives Chukagian the respect she deserves. And listen, yes, she doesn't have the most aesthetically pleasing style of MMA. There might be other people out there who I prefer to watch, Edson Barboza being one of them, but still, she knows how to get wins at the end of the day. Like, you don't stumble your way into a title shot unless you're Jessica Ai, which just so happens to be in the same division. But for Chukagian, she's been there and done that. And even Araujo's corner said, like, hey, she just knows how to win fights. She knows how to win rounds. She flurries at the end of the round. She isn't a hittable fighter. And if you're sound defensively and your opponent's not hitting you a lot, even if you're not landing shots yourself, just the fact you're making your opponent miss is going to make the judges side with you. So for Chukagian, I hate to say that she's kind of gamed the system, but she's kind of gotten to the point now where she just knows how to win rounds.
Miguel's saying 15 minutes of tennis player Caitlin Chukagian, a lot of grunting. What else do we have? Garrett saying that these fights are killing me. Araujo within distance is what Brandon's saying. Listen, let's go the way, instead of focusing on Caitlin Chukagian and everything that happened to her on Twitter this week, if we focus on Viviane Araujo, there are a lot of positives that you can see out of her game. It's just, again, you talked about it. The Jessica Ai fight definitely didn't go her way. The cardio definitely didn't really help her out in that fight. We have seen it out of Araujo. She came into the UFC. She was able to get a big win over Talita Bernardo. She was able to beat Alexis Davis by unanimous decision, albeit again, kind of started to fall apart a little bit at the end. Beat Montana De La Rosa and looked like an absolute force. Looked good against Roxanne Modafferi. I'd say the best fight other than the Bernardo finish. She looked great in that Montana De La Rosa fight. The losses on her record. Sarah Frota by knockout in NP fight before coming into the UFC. You remember her for missing weight against a lot of people. Lavia Souza, Jillian Robertson. And then the loss, like I said, to Jessica Ai.
You know that meme where it's that guy who's like, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't care that you broke your arm. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I don't love Araujo's game. I really don't. I don't like the fact that she doesn't really have to settle into her pace. And in that third round, she's a fighter who, she does have that weird kind of pace where she doesn't have this great elevated level of volume, but her cardio is still not great in the third round. So if you don't have output, and your cardio is still not good in the third round, what are you going to look like in a fight with Caitlin Chukagian, in a fight where you're going to be missing a lot? I just think that stylistically, this is one of the tougher matchups in the division for Araujo. I'd like her chances against Jessica Andrade more, even though I think Andrade is the better fighter. I just think stylistically, it would be an easier fight for Viviane.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one coming up. And I mean, Tyler Farron saying boys are doing bad on predictions. Right. Tyler, we led the show off with, it's been pretty bad. But hey, things turn around with the last one. We'll see what happens in our next fight. But Matt, again, Viviane Araujo coming into this one. She's on a tidy little 2-fight win streak. You like to see that. De La Rosa and Modafferi, the two names there. We got a let's get into it over in the chat. And Leonardo saying Viviane's going to beat Chukagian for 10 minutes and then survive the third. We'll see if that happens. I'm eager to see this fight. And the question or the comment that I wanted to go up for, Real News MMA, Chukagian seemed very half in, half out during the embedded. You believe against Calvillo. To me, you think Araujo is capable of doing what Andrade did. Greg G, I'm so confused. By what?
You and I both, Greg.
By Joe Solis. I mean, is he judging fights this weekend? I hope he's not.
I'm not sure.
Bruce Buffer getting the inside scoop on Viviane Araujo from her corner, it seems.
This has been an interesting fight, too, because, again, Araujo is one of those contenders in this division who hasn't fought Valentina yet, and not many fighters can say that, and it is a division where, let's be honest, if you want to fight Valentina, straight up just raise your hand, and they're probably going to give you the fight, because she's just been so dominant, no fight's even been close. If Araujo can look good in this fight, I'm not saying they will give her a title shot, I'm saying they could give her the next title shot.
It will be interesting to see there, and you have Araujo entering the cage. She's getting ready out of the blue corner. And again, you saw the tweet from friend of the show, Mike Heck. Yeah, she is one of those wild card contenders. And I like the way that he put it, because it's not like she's a dark horse. She's been here for a while. She's been established. But again, it really kind of takes you back, that loss to Jessica I. And over in the comments section, Evan saying, let's go Araujo. Corey Flores, or is that an I? No, it's Flores. See, I took my glasses off, Corey. It's difficult, saying, what's up, guys? And Harley saying 3027 Chukagian. Hot dogs. Not looking forward to this one.
I can't say I am either. Of all the fights in the main card, it's not going to be bad. Caitlin Craig, listen, this is one of those fights where the commenters are honest and you know they're right. You're going to say, really excited for this one. This will be an alright fight. Again, the real question mark about this fight is, how good can Araujo look? Because for Chukagian, here's the problem. This is why you can't be excited for this fight, Craig. I'm just going to break it down. Chukagian's not going to get a title shot no matter what happens in this fight, because there's 2 fighters ahead of her. And for Araujo, I think she needs more than just this fight to warrant a title shot. I really do think she needs more. Because the problem with Araujo is she hasn't beaten anyone good in the UFC yet. That's my really big issue with her whole game. You talk about the Montana De La Rosa win. It's a good win. But it's not like Montana De La Rosa's beaten anybody of substance in the UFC yet. The Roxanne fight was a good fight. But again, Roxanne's not one of those contenders in her prime. So for Araujo, I really think she can prove a lot based off this performance. I just think it's going to be a really hard ask against Caitlin Chukagian, who's only been at the top of this division, but she's beaten a lot of the top contenders already.
And it will be an interesting fight that we have coming up between Chukagian and Araujo. Matt, I'm eager to see who's going to be able to get the win. I mean, Araujo, you can see it, a couple years older. She's the shorter fighter. Reach is about the same. Chukagian, a fighter that likes to extend with the reach. Likes to just paw out there, make some noise. It is what it is. Garrett Rincon saying Chukagian wins a decision. Come on.
I agree. I think she probably will. Again, Caitlin knows what she has to do. We might see some wrestling out of her. Again, I'm a believer that, hey, Caitlin Chukagian, pretty good grappler. Should probably use it a little bit more.
Out of Henzo's in the past, out of Serrato MMA, she's got Sajara Eubanks in the corner. Maybe we will see that.
It would be nice, because again, that's one area of her game that you don't get to see often, but every time we see Caitlin Chukagian grapple, other than against Valentina Shevchenko, of course, she's done really, really well. So I just don't really know what wrinkle Araujo can bring to this fight that's really going to give Caitlin problems.
Steven Bridson knows exactly what the kryptonite is to these broadcasts. It is the popcorn in Matt's hand. If he's got it, he'll eat it.
I will.
And it will throw things for a loop. As we get the particulars on Caitlin Chukagian, like I said, Serrato MMA, you've got the Frankie Edgars of the world. Like I said, Eubanks in the corner. We've seen some really high-level fighters training out of the gyms. The Beat spent some time there as well. Cam Slay saying thoughts on Taco Bell. It is great.
I'm not a fan, I gotta be honest. There's a place called Taco Boys near where I live, and if I have the choice, I go to Taco Boys over Taco Bell without a doubt. And it's not even close, Craig. Spoiler alert, if you haven't gone to Taco Boys, it will change your opinion of Taco Bell to the point where you won't even go to the mall anymore to eat.
All right. That is the way it is. Evan O saying, give these 2 dudes some likes. We got referee Kerry Hatley in the cage getting us set up for our second fight on our pay-per-view main card between Caitlin Chukagian, where the hood at.
I was just going to say, could anyone tell us what Caitlin Chukagian's walkout song was? Because if it's DMX, I might laugh hysterically.
It always is.
A while.
It always is. They meet in the middle, and Viviane Araujo going for that Jessica Andrade finishing move, just targeting the body with her first punch of the fight.
Brandon, it's Boys with a B. Highly recommend it.
Boys with a Z.
Z, sorry. Goodness. I hope it was with a B. For Araujo, good check left hook, and that's the thing too. Araujo, you know she's the harder striker out of these two. Because again, Chukagian, she's more of a decision fighter, but for Araujo, she's going to have to get some kind of volume going early on. Because for Araujo, I hate that she does have to wait a lot in her fights, but it's interesting. We're seeing Chukagian move forward a little bit and not just be the one backpedaling throughout.
Chukagian's moving, and the one thing I wanted to focus in on, I mean, we're only 45 seconds into this fight, but it's been Chukagian landing combinations, but the real thing that I just have to focus, the one kick that landed the body, I couldn't tell if it was a smile out of Araujo, if she didn't really like it. It was an odd one, but now you have Araujo starting to land the 1-2, starting to land in a little bit of combination here.
Yeah, she is. And again, for Chukagian, normally you see her moving backwards and reacting to what her opponent's doing, but the fact that she's the one moving forward is really nice. The problem is Araujo's throwing with some power on those shots, so you really got to watch out of what's coming back your way.
Araujo, again, it's a 1-2-3 that misses for Chukagian, and a nice counter there from Araujo about a minute and a half in. And we've got Caitlin Chukagian kind of going to that Michelle Waterson game plan, throwing those side kicks to the body. That one didn't really look like it took much effect, though.
I'd rather she emulates Michelle Waterson's game plan than like Jodie Escabel. But for Caitlin Chukagian, here's the thing. It's going to be a weird fight for her. Is she going to be fighting this at boxing range, or is she going to be trying to kick a lot in this fight? Because if you are close to Araujo, that's where she can land with her power and clinch up. So for me, it's going to be really interesting to see what range this fight's going to take place at for the majority. Because right now, Araujo's doing a really good job at range landing with power.
She has landed, like you said, an overhand right there. And now you have Chukagian doing the old, oh, I'm not really here.
The 1,000 Bees defense, as Anderson Silva would call it.
Both fighters doing a really good job here at landing, and we're closing in on halfway through this first round. You got Chukagian mixing in some of the kicks, and it is the boxing heavy up and down movement of Araujo that's really landing.
Yeah, she's doing a really good job landing with that left hook right straight. And again, Araujo can land with really big power. She's throwing it like Canelo to the body all of a sudden. I can't believe those are words I really said tonight. But for Araujo, that's what you have to do. You have to meet Chukagian with power. You can't let her get confident and start just teeing off at range on you.
You have Chukagian trying to close the distance. That's the thing. I mean, this fight, it's been give and take. Araujo throwing some heavy hooks and just getting air with the whiff.
Yeah, she is missing quite a bit, but again, you only need one when you're throwing that hard. For Chukagian, starting to land a little bit more, especially at range, but you got to watch out for the power come back your way. I remember she was doing that like half step in, like Jorge Masvidal did to Darren Till, looking for the left overhand. She hasn't thrown it yet, but you can tell that's what she's going for.
Trying to put together the 1-2-3 big deep breath from Araujo, but she continues to pour it on so far. Nice hand lands for Chukagian there.
Yeah, Chukagian, again, she's doing a good job meeting her with that teep kick, too. Not letting her get close. Because, again, if I'm at kicking range, the chances are you can't punch me because you're going to be so far away. But the way Araujo's throwing that overhand, right, again, it only takes one to land on the temple.
That much is true. And it's interesting because she has tried to close the distance with the overhand right, but when Chukagian meets her in the middle and she throws that left hook out there, she has landed it.
Oh, she definitely has. And the good thing about Chukagian, too, is she's throwing straight punches to retaliate against the looping shots of Araujo. And she's just the one landing first most of the time in these exchanges. But again, I can't stress this enough. The way Araujo's throwing these punches, if she catches it one time clean, she's going to put her down.
Really nice left hook to the body there.
The thing Araujo's doing that I don't love is, I'm going to call this the Kevin Aguilar effect, was he just kept on doing that right hand to the body, then left hook up top. She's only throwing her left hand and the left hook to the body and the jab. If she could throw a little bit more variety, she'd probably have a better chance at landing.
Araujo going for the takedown here. She has thrown more strikes from distance as we get the metric from the booth. But yeah, I mean, Araujo really deep in on this takedown attempt with less than a minute remaining.
Oh, yeah, and for Araujo, kind of surprised she's the one going for the takedown. If anything, I thought we might see Caitlin Chukagian be shooting for some takedowns in this, but Chukagian's doing a good job trying to get her back off the cage and at least damaging her while she's going for this takedown attempt in the clinch.
Trying to soften up the body a little bit with some of these knees as we approach about 30 seconds remaining in this round.
Now, it's going to be a weird round to score, right? Because us at home, we see the scorecards. Yes, Araujo probably won this round based on strikes landed, but again, the fact that Chukagian didn't really get hit clean, and she was the one who at least aesthetically seemed to be landing a higher consistently of her shots, or a higher percentage of her shots, I don't really know how the judge is going to score it. It's one of those weird Caitlin Chukagian rounds where it's like, well, we both kind of landed, we both kind of grappled. How did you see it?
Yeah, it'll be a really interesting one. I want to see what people are thinking out there in the comments section as far as that round went. Between Araujo and Chukagian, I mean, if we pull up some of the numbers here, Matt, you're going to see the total strikes. I mean, 33 for Araujo to 34 Chukagian. To me, the really interesting thing that you're going to want to see, it was actually Chukagian that threw at a lower percentage. Diego Casas saying that Araujo didn't like those body kicks. No, when you started to see that, maybe about a minute and a half remaining in the round, it was Chukagian starting to go to the body, starting to land a little bit more. But you do have Araujo standing and Chukagian on the stool.
I don't know how much, that's some Joe Roganism right there. I don't know how much you can look into that, but it is. I agree. I think Viviani won that first round, but again, it was a weird round, because again, that's the case with Caitlin Chukagian. She's hard to hit clean, but she doesn't hit you clean very often. So I agree. I think Viviani did enough to win that first round, but it was a weird round to score.
Yeah, for me, I've got it 10-9 for Araujo, but we'll see how it goes as we move into our second. Evan Elsing, left hook is there for Vivi. If she hides it a little bit better, 100%, I think it is as well.
Oh, 100%. And for Chookagian, again, do you stick with the same game plan? Does she shoot for a takedown?
Nope.
It will be interesting because she did a great job defending that initial takedown from Araujo. So I don't think Araujo is going to be shooting for a lot more takedowns. Great left hook by Caitlin.
Left hook to open from Chookagian, who, I don't know, went like full, those...
Lomachenko.
Yeah, I don't even know what to call that one. It looked like she was the ornament on the front of a boat. She just kind of hopped in there a little bit. Araujo starting to land nice here.
Ooh, good front kick from Chookagian. Russian forward. Let's not do that now.
Little bit of a slip there from Araujo off the front kick from Chookagian. And now it's Araujo starting to try to land with power, but not really committing on the left hook there.
No, and you can tell already, Araujo is slowing down a little bit. Now, again, we're only, 30 seconds into this second round, so maybe we're looking into it too much, but there's nothing oomph on the end of her shots that there seemed to be in that first round.
Really, really neat round that we have so far. It's, again, Chookagian just giving it the old Ole. She's matadoring this fight, which is, again, pretty much what you expected to see. Now, Araujo, the fast starter, was able to get the first. We're a minute into our second round. And Chookagian's starting to now have the confidence to dip her head, land the right hand to the body, and not really worrying about that left hook out of Araujo. And now it's Chookagian starting to pressure.
Yeah, no, she's doing a great job moving forward. And again, we normally expect Chookagian, she's great at striking backwards. Kind of weird, right? Normally strikers, you learn how to strike moving forwards, and then you get really good striking backwards. But for Chookagian, it was always kind of the reverse. But the fact that she is moving forward on a really technical striker is a really nice wrinkle to see.
Another kick there from Chookagian. It's grabbed by Araujo, goes for the back.
Ooh, Chookagian rolling for a leg. Araujo inside control. Kind of a weird position right here, though.
You got Chookagian. She's going to go omoplata. Does she have the... Nope, she doesn't have the arm there.
But again, for Araujo, just this time on top is great. This isn't time spent at distance with Caitlin Chookagian. And any time you're spent on top, you're probably going to be winning the fight. So great job for Araujo just to make this an MMA fight, not just a kickboxing
Araujo
fight.
going for the submission. Looks like it could be tight. You got all that weight up there.
Yeah, but you can't guillotine if you're not in there. And again, for Chookagian, you're not any threat of getting submitted right now, but you can't let her get into full mount this way. And that's what Araujo is using this as. She's using this submission to get into a more dominant position.
This is one of the oddest positions we've seen in some time, and I don't think Chookagian's going to be able to get out of this.
It's a weird position, but for Araujo, she's going to get into full mount using this. If she now goes for the guillotine, she might be able to get it, but great position for Araujo, just cutting through her guard like butter.
Araujo now in full mount, Chookagian holding on for dear life. You got some of those underarm punches. Very rare you see one of those, especially from this position. Araujo doing her best to really just land off some strikes here, and Chookagian just kind of stalling for time.
I hate this, and you said the perfect word, stalling. If you're Chookagian, either work to your feet, try to get a submission, do something. If you're the ref, you're not going to reward a fighter for just holding on, looking to stall, and trying to get the ref to get you into that bad position. You have to be the one to try to work your way out of that bad position.
Now Araujo going for another submission attempt. Can she get the head and arm from this?
She could if she steps over. I think Chookagian's a good enough grappler that she's privy to it. But again, with someone like Araujo who's just wearing on her at this point in top position, you've got to worry.
Yeah, you got about a minute and 45 seconds remaining in the second round, and Araujo just burning clock and able to score with the judges.
Oh, 100%. For Araujo, you probably won the first round. If you can spend the rest of the second round top position, you've got 2 rounds in the bank. So as long as you don't give away the third too bad, you're probably going to be able to win this fight. And a win over the second-ranked Caitlin Chookagian in a division where you yourself haven't fought a lot of people at the top.
Ooh,
of the
Chookagian's starting to land as we're back
yeah,
up.
good knee. And again, Araujo taking a big, deep breath now. You can tell this fight's starting to wear on her.
Araujo looks like she's absolutely toast. Her hands are down. She's eating shots. This is shades of Gina Mazzani, Priscilla Cachoeira.
No, the difference is Priscilla can actually hit pretty hard. With Caitlin Chookagian landing at will all of a sudden, but there's just not that much pop in the end of her shots.
This is going to be the most interestingly scored fight since Mike Grundy, Lando Venata.
Yeah, it's really weird because both fighters have a claim to really be winning a lot of these, even just moments in the fight. So it's weird. You say Vivi's got this in the bag. She looks like she took like the Kimbo Slice cardio tapes or something. Dada 5000 sold her a treadmill perhaps. Just not the body language you want to see from Viviane Araujo.
Huge open mouth belly breathing from Araujo as Caitlin Chookagian starts to land overhand rights in everything she can.
And this kind of tells you the state of the division. Like, you talk about Araujo as a dark horse contender. Edson Barboza's not even a dark horse contender at featherweight. And he's great at everything. So for Viviani, you hate the cardio, and that's the problem. It's not like this fight was fought at the craziest pace up until this point. The fact that she's this tired at the end of the second round is pretty concerning for a fighter who expects to be in that title picture at some point.
Yeah, I mean, to me, we close in on 5 seconds remaining in this round. Chookagian is taking a lot of liberties, and she's still getting caught on the entrance.
I still think she didn't have to get that round back. I do. I actually think Chookagian won that second round.
I think you're the only person in the entire world.
No, okay, she got that, but this is my problem. When your body language is that bad at the end of a round, it's really hard to judge a fight for somebody in that case. I do think that if your hands are down, you're just getting hit clean a lot. As Caitlin maybe had a fake tap, who knows?
Looked like a tap to me, but again, I see the comment over there from Steven saying that getting Fabricio Verdum flashbacks. Yeah, I mean, it was like a 1-2, I'm looking for my hand.
It was odd. But anyways, for Chookagian, she's going to have a lot of confidence going into the third round. And for Araujo, all you have to do is show a good gas tank, and you're going to beat a lot of these fighters at flyweight. Like, you're the much heavier-handed striker. You've got great technique. If she did have cardio, this would be a really dangerous fighter we'd be dealing with right now. But this version of Araujo, I think she struggles with Chookagian. I think she struggles with Andrade. I just think when your cardio's this bad or this big of a hole in your game, I just don't really know where your ceiling can be.
All right, Matt. So going into our third and final round at 125 pounds with Chookagian taking on Araujo. To me, I've got it 20-18 for Araujo. We'll see what happens.
Interesting fight, though. It has been closely contested. I just really worry about the gas tank of Araujo. She seems to be doing a good job in this third round, bouncing a little bit more, but goodness, her body language is terrible at the end of that second.
You got Chookagian throwing that kick to kind of pry there. Leonardo's got a 20-18. For who, Leonardo? For who?
But Evan L., I know exactly what you mean. Bad feeling about this being another questionable Chookagian decision. All of her fights are close. Like, she just fights to a split decision regardless of whether she's going to win it or lose it.
Araujo is swinging for the short right porch, Yankee Stadium. She is going after it.
Not hitting much, though. She'd be striking out like Gary Sanchez, swinging at air.
The old Mike Ford swing here.
You've never seen a player miss the ball by more inches than Gary Sanchez. I don't know if that's a stat that baseball keeps track of, but if it was, he would lead the league.
Caitlin Chookagian's starting to back up a little bit, and you can tell that this pressure's starting to frustrate her a little bit. I mean, she's able to pry, she's able to land that jab, gets caught by a left hook.
But here's the thing, there's nothing on the end of Araujo's shots anymore. Like, she's thrown her power at the start of the round. She kind of threw her power shots already. When you look at what she's throwing now, they're just kind of arm punches, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to land, but they don't land with any big power behind them.
It's going to be really interesting as we continue on. Voodoo brings up a really good question that we can focus in on. I mean, do you think the fight should be judged overall like one? It gets tricky, right? I mean, if you go back to the fight that Eddie Alvarez had his last time out, where he nearly got finished, and then he came back a little bit near the end. He did get outstruck overall. There were commenters online saying that Eddie Alvarez, maybe there's a shot that he gets the win. We get the strike totals here. Araujo ahead in terms of percentage and overall strikes. But again, like any Caitlin Chookagian fight, she can get outstruck and somehow win.
Again, it happens all the time. This isn't an anomaly by any means. And for Araujo, this is my problem. Even if she beats Caitlin Chookagian, like, this version of Viviane Araujo doesn't beat anybody in the top three. Like, I think she really struggles against the Andrades and the Shevchenkos of the world. And even if she is able to win this fight, again, you've got to fix that gas tank. I don't know if the answer is a Peloton bike. I see the commercials. They have Dare now in them by the Gorillas. That's a good tune. But it's just, when your cardio's this big of a problem, I just don't really know. I just don't know where to put their ceiling in the division. Like, I think Marina Rodriguez could probably move up and beat Viviane Araujo at this point.
Yeah, it's a tricky one here so far. I mean, Chookagian's starting to land a little bit. You've got Araujo doing things, but they're not quite landing. For Chookagian, you have to think you're behind on the scorecards. You got to really do something to finish this fight in the third round.
Maybe she is, though. Like, the damage is way worse on Araujo's face. That's the problem. And even if Araujo won those first two rounds, Caitlin Chookagian's weird like that, and the judges have already put in a weird scorecard so far. So, for Araujo, though, I just hate the single shots. That's the thing that kills me. She was throwing in volume. You can tell she started to get tired, started throwing with power. Now she's just throwing arm punches with not a lot on the end of it, and that's the problem. If you don't have great volume and you don't have great power, I just don't know how you're going to beat the elites in the division.
Really nice right hand lands there for Chookagian on the inside. She continues to pump that jab out there, but you can see the left eye starting to swell up for Araujo. It's been a heck of a fight. She gets caught by another right hand from Chookagian.
Yeah, Chookagian's doing a great job moving forward in this third and final round. For Araujo, again, she looked tired at the end of the second round. Like, she looks exhausted with 2 minutes left in the third.
This is a tricky fight. About a minute 30 seconds remaining in our third round. It's all Chookagian so far. I mean, you do see Araujo throwing, but nothing's really landing. She has been able to hit that left hook on the way in, but a tricky fight for the Brazilian here. And again, for me, like I said, I had her up 20 to 18 as she goes in for the takedown attempt, but it doesn't look like she's going to be able to get it. Eats a knee for her exchange.
Diego, I think you can get better cardio. Like, I think you're definitely born with a certain level, but I think if you run along, you're going to get better cardio.
Look at Brandon Davis when he took on, who was it, Zabit. He ran marathons every single day so he could improve his cardio. His cardio was good in his last fight in the UFC, but it was the technique that was the issue. Mitch Jacob, we appreciate you.
I was going to say, like, Michael Bisping or Chris Cyborg or somebody who won a title.
You had Caitlin Chookagian no-selling, they'll look away. What are we doing? Who are we, TJ Dillashaw?
I don't know who either one of these ladies fights next. That's my problem. For Araujo, this has been a pretty disappointing performance, if I'm being honest. And I kind of say the same thing for Chookagian. Because for Chookagian, you really need to set yourself apart if you want to fight for the title again. You fought the number one contender. You lost by first round knockout. You fought the champ. You lost by second round knockout. Like, you really need to prove that you belong back in the elite of the elite. And for Chookagian, I don't even think she's been able to do that, even if she's able to win this fight.
I mean, Araujo's starting to wear it on both sides of her face. And that's the thing. I mean, is it a lot of damage? Because there are not a lot of power shots. Nice right hand lands for Araujo.
It's definitely damage. Again, for Araujo, I hate the whole cardio factor of her game. She's able to land some shots, but once your cardio is this bad, like, you don't have any power at this point in the fight.
I mean, for me, I've got a 29-28 for Araujo, who looks, yeah.
I can almost bet you anything it'll be a split decision.
Oh, can't wait to see how the judges scored this one. But again, like I said, for me, 29-28 for Araujo. For most people, we've got a 29-28 for Vivi over in the comments section. Daniel saying that Vegas has it split. Q Crew, come on now. But yeah, I mean, in that second round, you had all that top control, all that pressure, all those body shots from Araujo. In the first round, you had all that pressure from Araujo where she was able to land. But again, the highlights were showing Chookagian highlights, so it'll be really interesting to see how it works out. There's a judge that has a 30-27 Chookagian. No, there's not. There won't be.
They could, though.
Brian saying 29-28 Chookagian. We get the total striking numbers. And again, yeah, they were all Chookagian in the third round. In the second round, they were more Chookagian. But again, you had the top pressure of Araujo, where she was in full mount for quite some time. Justin's got a 29-28 for Chookagian. Mitch saying nice.
I'm going to tell you right now, I thought Viviane Araujo won 29-28. She's not going to. I'm telling you right now, Caitlin Chookagian's going to win 29-28.
Well, Kyle saying 29-28 Chookagian. Brandon saying Chookagian better is coming in hot. Listen, I had Chookagian to win the fight, but it's a tricky one as we get our
It's not a robbery no matter who won, though.
No, that is fair. That's true. As the commentary even says, we wait with bated breath for our scorecards. Bruce Buffer's got it. Is he going to give us a tell? I don't see anything. Raymundo saying Chookagian won. I'm done looking at the comments section for a second.
Weird fight, though. Again, both fighters have a lot to take from this. After the three judges.
Unanimous decision win. It's got to be Araujo. Oh my gosh!
Craig, we just said it wouldn't be a robbery no matter who won.
Oh, yeah, but 30-27 Chookagian.
Again, we just got done saying it wouldn't be a robbery no matter who won. Guys,
30-27.
I hate to say I told you so.
Oh.
Again, Caitlin Chookagian wins close fights, guys. She throws a lot at the end of the rounds. Again, I can't stress this enough. I told you, I thought Viviane won that fight. She didn't, though.
What was that?
Okay. Again, you can't say it's not a robbery and then react like that, Craig. Yes, I don't agree 30-27, but it wasn't a great fight. So that going into it. Bontorin versus Schnell should be very good.
That's exciting stuff.
That's something I can get excited about. Tony Ferguson, Beneil Dariush. Don't know if that's something you're interested in, but that's coming up pretty soon. And then, of course, to top off the evening, we have Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira in what should be an absolutely phenomenal fight.
Yes, and cash it. Thank you. Hey, it's a 2-0 start to the main card. Hey, coming back. Let's go. But Carlio saying shake my head. But Matt is right as to why Chris Lee probably had 30-27. I don't know who we had for judges, so I'll pop in and out of Twitter. I'll do my best to kind of have a look to see what or which judges scored it which way. As Goldberg submits Matt Serra, as Matt Serra looks a little bit nervous, but like, hey, we're hanging out, but are we friends? I don't know.
Gilbert Burns.
Some guy with a cowboy hat and a beard behind Gilbert Burns. That's interesting. You know what I'd love to see, Matt? And I'm dead serious, and I'm going to say this on the show here, but this is going to be a theme coming up, especially with the big pay-per-view cards and one going to Arizona. I want to see a Fight Night Picks billboard. I want to see somebody that goes to the dollar store, buys some Bristol board, writes Fight Night Picks, FNP for life, whatever that is. If I see you out there, if you send me the picture of it, we'll do something nice for you. How about that? I would love to see that support because we have had a lot of people that went out there. They picked up some of their Fight Night Picks merch. They wear it proudly, but I got to see some of that stuff out there. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we get some takers for UFC 263. What a card coming up there! Holy smokes!
Yeah, it's gonna be a really fun one. And again, I'm excited for this next fight between Matt Schnell and Rogerio Bontorin. Should be an interesting one. You have Bontorin missing weight above a weight class that he doesn't fight in anyways. Not a great sign. And we've seen this before. Like John Lineker missed weight at flyweight, moved up to bantamweight, missed weight at bantamweight, and then of course made weight at bantamweight. Now he's very, very good, won championship. But I just don't really know what version of either guy we're going to get. I know I've fed that horse until it's died. The Bontorin just got knocked out, and that what kind of a training camp can you really have after that? But I do think Schnell, at the end of the day, can just beat Bontorin with his volume. I think if he sticks behind the jab, keeps his fight at long range, Bontorin is just all gas from the beginning of the fight till the end. And I do think he's going to tire himself out with that kind of technique and with that kind of approach. And Matt Schnell has phenomenal cardio, really good output. I like Matt Schnell quite a bit in this fight, honestly.
You've got Michael Chaplow. You'd love to see that too. You guys deserve it. Mike, I miss covering the fights in person. I get all amped up all week. I drive down to the States 9 times out of 10. And yeah, we get excited. And the main fans really have been quite receptive. And once things open back up, we'll get Matt there too. Steven Bridson saying that Matt Schnell needs to utilize the Manscaped discount. You got to check that out. Promo code FNP. You get 20% off and free shipping. They now have the Lawnmower 4.0. It's somewhere in the mail, but I can't wait to see it. Justin D saying Nachuk won. Sorry, bro, you lost. Who's the bro that lost? I don't know who lost. Matt the Mix saying, so I guess you just need to win by the 3rd round. Yeah, maybe. Jay's not loving it. And Hoodie Jay saying, you had money on her, you clown. I don't know what's going on over in the comment section. But Matt, we do have a really good fight. Matt Schnell taking on Rogerio Bontorin. And we talked about it. I mean, as far as the votes at Fight Night Picks, this one wasn't overly close, which surprised me to a certain extent. I know you brought it up, the fact that Bontorin finished by Kai Kara France not that long ago. We have seen Rogerio Bontorin be the hammer. We've also seen him be the nail. And we've seen both of those things in the same fight. That was the last fight. But for the votes, 71% of Fight Night Picks fans have Matt Schnell to get the win. That's good for 371 to 154. In terms of the odds in this one, I was somewhat surprised when I had a look at the line. And listen, we've had a lot of close fights tonight. Matt Schnell opened somewhere around a minus 125. He's a minus 167 favorite coming into this one. For Bontorin, opened at a plus 105. He's plus 139 at this point. And over in the comments section, Benjamin Pardo saying, let's go Bontorin, with Evan L saying, on to the next one. Please remember that now I can't even think, Jay-Z song. Voodoo saying, Matt Schnell. Let's go, Matt Schnell. 9 saying Craig versus Matt. Who you got? We have to see that one play out. Maybe that'll be a content piece. Justin D still going off about the last fight. But again, you said it. With Schnell, a lot of volume. He has jiu-jitsu in his back pocket. Bontorin, a little bit more compact. A little bit of more power in his shots. And he's great at getting takedowns from really unorthodox angles, too.
He's just one of those guys who is all gas, no break. And when you have a style like that, yeah, it's great for that first flurry, that first round. But if your opponent can't weather the storm, you're not much of a fighter afterwards. And I do think Schnell, again, this just comes down to styles. And stylistically, Schnell has really good cardio. He's the much bigger fighter in this fight. Although, okay, I can't prove that because I guess legally speaking, Bontorin is the bigger fighter. But I'm just telling you right now, I think Schnell's bigger. And Schnell can keep this fight at range. If he can keep this fight at range, I just think he's going to be able to pick Bontorin apart. Bontorin, he doesn't have bad striking, but he has bad striking defense, and that's what really worries me in this fight. I don't think Schnell's going to go out there and knock him out, but I do think he's going to be able to thoroughly outclass him on the feet.
And I mean, if you have a look at this one, Rogerio Bontorin 5'5", and he weighed 137. He did take this fight on short notice, so that has to be said. For Matt Schnell, his last win, wow, a split decision win, albeit over Tyson Am. You like to see that. We talked about some of the losses. Listen, he got finished by Rob Font. He got finished by Hector Sandoval. He won a few in a row. He got finished by Pantoja, back on the horse since then. And for Bontorin, really weird fights he's had in the UFC. I mean, the Bibulatov fight, he had huge moments. The fight against Paiva, really weird fight. And now we're at this spot where Rogerio Bontorin missed weight at 137. Like, with a win, it's really hard to seed him in the division.
No, you're 100% right. Like, I don't really know what you do next with Bontorin. If Schnell wins, you just go right back down to flyweight, and you consider this a flyweight win for him. But if Bontorin wins, there's just so many question marks kind of surrounding this whole fight. And I think Bontorin at flyweight is a really good fighter. Yeah. But if you miss weight up a weight class at bantamweight, how is the promotion going to trust you to then make weight down at flyweight? And again, this all comes down to, if you got knocked out only 2 months ago, what kind of a training camp did you have? Like, even if you only spar a little bit, you're going to get hit in the head. I don't like guys getting hit in the head after they've been knocked unconscious. Maybe I'm old-fashioned that way. It's a bit of an old-fashioned ideal. But for Bontorin, if you haven't been able to spar, and if you haven't really been able to train at the full capacity, that would probably mean that your weight's a little bit off, right? I know this is all sounded pretty tinfoil hat, but everything does line up. If you weren't able to train all that well because you're out due to concussion protocols, then you're going to have bad weight. I just don't think Bontorin had a great weight camp, or had a great camp coming into this fight, and I think that's going to be a big factor.
Schnell got Aaron Phillips in his corner, a guy who, again, we talked about it, first fight on the night. What a fight that was. Sean Soriano, Christos Giagos. I mean, listen, we've talked about some of these fights where, holy smokes, we've had some great ones. I mean, Burgos and Barboza, that was amazing. Listen, Soriano took that first round handily over Giagos. Oh, yeah. Giagos even gets cracked at the start of the second. He comes back, gets a Darce choke. Everybody likes a Darce choke, except if you're on the receiving end. So for Matt Schnell, he comes in here. He's got Aaron Phillips, again, another UFC two-timer, like Giagos, like Soriano. He's got, the members of his team out of Fortis MMA, second fastest submission in flyweight history. There's so many different fighters here in the UFC at flyweight that have such good opportunity to just fast-track themselves. I mean, David Dvorak's got a big fight coming up. He's one of those guys that I think of. Bruno Silva looked great against JP Bass. He just had a fight booked. Like, there's a lot of movers and shakers, and I get it. This one here, it's up a weight class at 135, but we did see in the main event last weekend, Rodriguez and Watterson. It was up a weight class. Great fight. Really, really good fight. Both women look good. Unfortunately for Watterson, she's a little bit worse in main events than she is good, if we can put it that way. But that win definitely had a direct effect at 115, their natural weight class. So I'm eager to see how this one goes. Of course, for Tyson Am, he also had a situation like this where he ended up fighting Zaruk Adashev. It was up a weight class. Adashev missed weight, and Tyson Am knocked him out in the first minute. I doubt that happens in this one. Jackson saying that Schnell looks like Dylan Dennis, Gaslam Lovechild. Dylan Dennis, is he a fighter? Is he a Twitter guy? What is he?
Mac L, what's with Canada and MMA? We're down bad as an MMA scene right now. I wish I could come and say, hey, there's 5 prospects.
Mean Hakeem's got a big fight coming up.
Craig, the fact that Mean Hakeem's the #1 star in a country that's produced the greatest fighter of all time.
Rory McDonald, Curtis Millender fight. Look good.
You're just proved my point for me. Again, it's weird, because normally there was always these, like, MMA stars in Canada that were on the come up. And right now, it just seems like every big Canadian seems to be losing. But again, big country. There is a big MMA scene here, so hopefully once the country does start to open up again, to get more regional shows, and just kind of allow a lot of the talent here to progress a little bit more. But again, that's the problem just with any prospects from anywhere around the world right now. With there not being any regional shows, it's just really hard for guys to get practice and get experience right now. So anyone who isn't in one of the big shows like Bellator, UFC, it's really hard to get fights booked nowadays.
Yeah, and if you're a Canadian trying to go to the States for fights too, exactly. It's just a whole logistical nightmare. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, you got Schnell with the reach advantage, the height advantage. He doesn't have the weight advantage. That goes to Rogerio Bontorin. And Awesome Watson saying, what's with gnarly bone breaks recently? You hate to see it. Older fighters breaking down in front of our eyes at middleweight. Yikes. You don't like it. Bontorin hopping upside down. 16-3 with the 1-0 contest on the record. He's a plus 135 underdog according to the broadcast with DraftKings. And yeah, I mean, he can bring it together with the takedowns. He can bring it together with the jiu-jitsu. I do expect a finish in this fight. And for Matt Schnell, Very well rounded too. He's had his chin checked, not as recently as Bontorin has, so this should prove to be fireworks. I am eager to see this fight.
Oh yeah, this will be a really fun fight. And again, no matter where the fight takes place, it's going to be really fun. I just think at the end of the day, Schnell is one of those fighters who, yes, we've seen him lose, and we've seen him even lose bad, but he's a fighter who keeps on getting better no matter what the result of the fight is. And even in the Pantoja fight, like, yeah, he gets knocked out by Pantoja. He hurt Pantoja. It's hard to get into crazy fights though under Pantoja. He tends to knock people unconscious. So for Schnell, I do think he can compete with a lot of the top flyweights in the world. And for Bontorin, like, it's just the weight miss is such a bad look. Just pick up that crown, you short king. At 5'5", especially at bantamweight. Like, let's say he loses this fight and the UFC's going, hey, you have to fight at bantamweight again. I don't think Bontorin's going to be beating many, at least natural bantamweights in the UFC. So it'll be a really tough career moving forward for Bontorin if he's not able to win this one.
We shall see what's going to happen. First round of our fight, you've got Matt Schnell taking on Bontorin. Make sure you're synced up with the boys. We would appreciate your like. It would mean a lot to us as we get set for our third fight on the main card. Matt Schnell coming out with the red trunks. Rogerio Bontorin with the black, we'll call it gray. It's difficult to kind of see these Venom trunks. They look slick.
I don't mind them.
Matt Schnell cutting off the cage. You got Bontorin behind the two black lines. We've seen him do damage in these positions too.
And again, this is the thing too. You got to worry about Schnell moving into the power of Bontorin because Bontorin, yes, talk about the grappling, the jiu-jitsu. He's got big power in his hands if he is able to land. So for Schnell, just have to be smart at closing the distance. Jab your way in. Use your straight punches. Use your kicks to keep range. Because if he can keep this fight at just such a range that Bontorin can't reach him, then he should be able to just pick him apart.
You see the feint early on the left hook from Bontorin, who again goes to land it. Unable to really get anything going in that exchange there, about 45 seconds into this first round.
I definitely think the power sides in Bontorin, though. I think he has the edge in the power shots, but for Schnell, if he can land at least clean shots together, he still has decent pop himself.
You've got Bontorin now in the center of the octagon. Both guys feeling each other out, trying to establish range. Again, we talked about it with the feints, a little bit of the level changes, the head movement from Bontorin. And the old 1-2 from Matt Schnell that looked like it landed.
It did. And for Schnell, again, keep this fight at range. Use those straight shots. Because if he can fight at a 5'9" range, let's say, then Bontorin is going to have a really hard time with those looping shots of his. But the power of Bontorin is the great equalizer, of course. So Schnell's going to watch his P's and Q's.
Matt Schnell going body. Throws a little bit of a leg kick. Eats a leg kick of his own from Bontorin.
He does. And again, for Bontorin, it'll be interesting to see. Does he shoot for a takedown? Does he have to stay on the outside? Like, what is his game plan in this fight?
Matt Schnell continues to move forward a little bit. Lands a little bit of a leg kick. You don't see him kind of committing fully to them. Because like you said, I mean, power is an equalizer. And you really do have to worry about it. And you have to wonder, wow, big flurry from both men. And Schnell able to land.
Fast hands by Matt Schnell so far. Like, he's really making Bontorin pay every time he tries to get close.
Tiago is saying that Barboza fight's fight of the year. Man, I loved every second of it.
That was a wild fight.
That's a Sunday morning coffee, steak, and eggs, and you're watching Barboza fight Burgos again.
Oh, yeah. Edson Barboza is going to be one of those people who, like, you know, maybe your kids won't remember him, but, like, you're going to tell stories about the times you remember watching Edson Barboza.
Ooh, nice 1-2 from Bontorin. Comes up with the left hook, able to land.
Schnell's keeping everything really tight and inside, though, and you really like that. If he does start to get wild with his shots, he might open up and get cracked with something big himself, but when he keeps everything on the inside really tight and compact, he's a hard fighter to beat.
Oscar saying, who won the Barboza one actually? Well, that guy got knocked out.
Barboza by KO, round 3.
Yep. 2 minutes, 20 seconds remaining in our first round. Ooh. You got Bontorin fully committing. It looked like he landed that left hook, but he got caught.
Yeah, he's landed a few big shots on Schnell so far, and that's just something Schnell's going to watch out for. Durability is always going to be a question mark throughout his career, so it's just something you got to watch out for, especially against a power puncher like Bontorin.
About 2 minutes remaining in our first round. Schnell keeping those hands up. Really got to be wary of the power hand, which is really the lead hand for Bontorin.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. He does have a really good left hook, but again, the overhand right is something you have to watch out with Bontorin too. It's just the hooks really is the point. When he throws hooks, he can really get his momentum behind those shots, and for Schnell, like I said, if you can start to jab, overwhelm him with your volume. For every one he lands, if you can land 2, 3, and 4 shots, that's how you win this fight.
You can really see Bontorin looking for it. Lands a really nice leg kick that kind of wobbles the leg of Schnell. He slips.
But you can tell the power is definitely on the side of Bontorin throughout this first round.
That left hook landed flush. And Schnell not having any of it.
No, Matt Schnell, I don't love how hittable he is. That's just a question mark I'm always going to have with him, especially against the elite in this division. Like, Pantoja, I think, is a very good fighter, but I would keep him out of the elite. And when a guy like him is able to just tee off on you on the feet, it does concern me a little bit.
Nice leg kick there from Bontorin. About 1 minute and 4 seconds remaining in this first round. Omar saying who won. Nice left hook there from Schnell.
Both guys are landing clean. Neither guy's got great head movement so far in this fight. When both guys are just throwing their hands, they're both able to land.
And this is, to answer the question, big 3-punch combo there from Schnell. It's a tough round to score.
It has, because Bontorin, I would say, has landed the bigger shots, but Schnell's making sure he's answering with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shots. So it is going to be a really hard one to score.
36 seconds remaining in our first round. Eager to see how the fans are scoring this one at home so far. Who do you have winning this first round? Because it is really, really close. Schnell starting to move forward here. We got about 25 seconds remaining. And in all of these exchanges, they're both landing.
Yeah, they have been. For Schnell, again, I'm surprised no one's gone for a takedown yet. Because both guys, again, so good on the mats. And both guys could shoot for them. Throwing haymakers is Bontorin, though.
The absolute Olay, and Bontorin switching stances here, now operating out of the southpaw.
He has been, which is interesting, too. You don't know if that's just to give Schnell a different look. Maybe he's going to shoot for a takedown, but Schnell's starting to throw more kicks, which is interesting. Great head movement so far from Matt Schnell.
If there was ever a round that warranted a very close score, that was the one. 20 strikes for Schnell to 18 for Bontorin, who landed at a higher percentage. Schnell getting the ice here.
I think I'm okay at this kind of stuff. I think the judge just gave that first round to Bontorin, though, because he was the one landing the power shots out of those. Yes, he might have only landed 18 to the 20 of Schnell's, but I do think that the judges are going to see the power shots of Bontorin land and maybe give him that first round.
It'll be really, really tricky. Judges will give the first round to Chukagian. RJ saying it's really close. 100% it is. Voodoo saying Schnell ever so slightly. I'll disagree, but again, maybe that leg kick where you see the slip, maybe that one, they scored it as a knockdown.
Schnell landed, but Bontorin landed clean. Like, there was 4 or 5 strikes that Bontorin just landed clean on Schnell, where every time Schnell landed it, yes, he might have landed more shots, but they were off the arm. They were kind of at the end of his strike. So I do think Bontorin ever so slightly did, but again, it was one of the closer rounds you're going to see in MMA.
That's fair. We'll disagree on it. You got a 10-9 Bontorin, I got a 10-9 Schnell, but a really, really close round. And again, we'll get set for the second one. Ooh, head kick lands for Schnell as Bontorin out of the southpaw stance, and just like that, he's back in orthodox.
Good right straight from Matt Schnell. That's the thing. When he's throwing straight shots, he is landing the majority of the time.
Sean McMinn, the Schnell line went up after that round. That's interesting to see. Both guys starting to land here, and you have another leg kick from Bontorin. Maybe a bit of a surprise that he hasn't gone for more of them.
Again, I'm just surprised no one shot a takedown attempt at this point, because we talk about the striking of both guys and their improvements in the striking realm. Both guys natural grapplers, so I'm kind of surprised that no one shot a takedown attempt.
Voodoo saying true, Bontorin had some power, 100%. Both guys were able to land flush in that round too. About 45 seconds into our second round, Bontorin matched Schnell.
Matt Schnell's doing a lot of waiting on the outside. I do think if he just threw combinations, he would be able to catch him a little bit more. But the fact that he's just throwing single shot, and then answering with combinations after Bontorin's throwing, it's not the best look. If he was the one moving forward a little bit more, I think he'd be having a much better time.
Evan L. with the Bontorin Mike Tyre now. It is tricky, especially with the weight miss. You never know. But again, they're up a weight class. It's so hard to tell when you look at stuff like that.
No, 100%. The fact that it is up a weight class, like, was it a hard cut? Was it not? Like, you just don't really know what version of both guys were getting.
Matt Schnell has the fastest hands I've seen tonight.
He's throwing fast, but that's the problem. There's nothing on the edge of them, and he's only throwing after Bontorin's made the commitment of going on the inside. If Schnell was the one moving forward, like I said, throwing with power, I think he'd be able to really clip him with a big shot and probably even hurt Bontorin.
Holy smokes. Bert from San Diego's hanging out. Bert, what's it like in the Southwest Beach? Can we call it that? Are we hurting somebody's feelings? You got Bontorin starting to move forward. Almost 2 minutes into our second round. This is quite the chess match of a fight we've got.
When Schnell feints, he is drawing out the reaction of Bontorin. He's just not throwing enough feints. If he was throwing a lot of feints, making Bontorin react and then making him pay for it, I do think he'd be able to crack him for it. But
Bontorin's starting to try and land some of those power shots, but they're not really finding a home from distance, being the much smaller, shorter fighter.
Yeah, he's having a really hard time getting it on the inside of Matt Schnell, landing meaningful shots.
Matt Schnell backing up here. He's behind the black lines. Bontorin starting to try and push his own pace, but again, he's pushing with power, and it's not often that you see that work.
No, exactly. For Bontorin, again, I'm surprised he hasn't gone for a takedown. Just try to throw something different at Matt Schnell. Give him a different wrinkle of him made to think about, not just the boxing on the outside.
Both guys really starting to land here. Matt Schnell with the combination. Bert saying, who do you got in the main event? Bert, it was an awful undercard. We got the last two right. I've got Oliveira, but it's a pop and popcorn for the boys.
It's going to be a phenomenal fight in the main event, but I also have Oliveira.
We got a great one going on here. Hoodie J Jr. saying this fight is too slowly paced. Hoodie J Jr., I disagree with you, but I'm glad you're here.
It's not fight of the night, but...
2 minutes remaining in our second round. And Bontorin starting to push pace, lands a nice leg kick.
Yeah, good right hand from Schnell, too, on the inside. That was something nice. I'm kind of happy, but that's the problem. Schnell, he's landing when he's throwing his hands. He's just not throwing his hands enough. That one got the attention of Schnell, though. Knocked the mouth guard a little bit out.
Nice land there for Bontorin, who hasn't showed any signs of slowing in the second round.
Well, if you don't throw anything, though, it's hard to get tired, unless your name's Viviani Araujo. For Bontorin, again, he has to throw combinations if he wants to get on the inside. You can't just expect to land on Schnell by throwing flurries on your way in every single time.
Diego saying that Schnell's too technical. Bontorin's decided to make it dirty. It favors Bontorin. But a minute and 20 seconds remaining. Matt Schnell trying to change the levels, offer some different looks.
Ooh, big power shots from Bontorin.
Bontorin landed. He's starting to land.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Schnell was getting comfortable, but he's not as hurt as I thought he was. Still in the pocket.
He's a scrappy little devil.
He is, for sure. Fight a scrappy devil and a short king. Wow.
About a minute remaining here in our second round. Schnell going to land with a little bit of power in the right hand.
Every time Schnell's trying to make a commitment to the striking, though, he's also getting hit, and it does concern me, because when he gets hit, you know that he's getting wobbled, but he's definitely been stunned a few times in this fight.
You got about 45 seconds remaining in this second round. More of a clear round here for the Brazilian fighter, Bontorin, than the first might have been.
Yeah, definitely starting to pick up momentum, though, for Bontorin. Seems to be a bit of a clash of heads there.
That's exactly what I was going to say here. About 35 seconds, they both landed there with their heads and not their fists.
Yeah, Schnell having a hard time landing clean in the second round.
Evan L saying Schnell's really fast, Bontorin throwing some bombs. And that's the thing. What scores more? Now, I would think that the damage would score more. I'm eager to get the complete totals as far as the strikes are concerned. Matt Schnell. Whoa! The old jump knee from Bontorin in tight.
But the flurries that Schnell's throwing don't have anything behind them. Like, he's just throwing a bunch of strikes, trying to land in volume, but they're not really doing anything to Bontorin. Whereas when Bontorin's landing, they're at least having an effect on Schnell.
Yeah, I mean, we go into our third and final round. Matt Schnell up in terms of the total strikes, 44-38. Again, pretty well all depends on how you scored the first, because in the second round, that one was definitely Bontorin's fight. Blake A saying Schnell is going to slow down, got to make it a dogfight. Schnell needs a finish here is what Voodoo is saying. Yeah, be eager to see what we get. But the total numbers, again, Evan L makes a good point as well. Surprised Bontorin hasn't tried to make it go to the ground, but he did such a good job in the strike in the second. I wouldn't think he'd go for the takedown in the third, but you never know.
No, again, I'm just surprised there hasn't even been a single takedown attempt in this fight so far. Just two guys happy to strike. It will be interesting. Bontorin's landed the more clean shots, I would say. But, like we had said, Schnell's much more volume heavy, so it will be interesting to see what the judges prioritize.
Bontorin bet at, so he's a slight underdog then, Brandon? The way I'm looking at it right now, we got a 20-18 for Bontorin in the chat.
But a very close fight so far. Like, both rounds could have gone either way.
Yeah, it'll be eager to see, especially the way Chukagi and Araujo went with 30-27. That was a little bit of a surprise. But Matt Schnell coming out of here, really trying to push a bit of a pace. It's starting to land some of the kicks, too.
He has thrown much more kicks at the start of this third round. And again, you would think, sorry not to cut you off, but just try to keep this fight at range. If you're constantly throwing kicks, Bontorin can't be close to you.
Well, especially to that power left hand. Schnell lands a nice combination. Ooh,
yeah, nice. So far. Bontorin's really starting to load up, and when he does, he's getting clipped by Schnell, who is the much faster guy, but goodness, when he loads up, if he clips you, you're going to go down.
You've got Schnell, again, trying to land the kicks, and like we said, I mean, for Bontorin, the power's been a lot in that left hand. Schnell was throwing those left kicks high, trying to negate some of that power there. And even if you're landing on the forearm, they talk about it all the time. Oh, the kick didn't get through, this, that, and the other. But you get kicked to the arm, it doesn't take a huge effect, but it still hurts.
Well, it just keeps you occupied so you can't throw that hand yourself. And for Bontorin, very left hand heavy right now.
Schnell just getting backed up here at this point, about a minute into our third round, trying to rip to the body.
Yeah, Bontorin's not doing a great job at striking his way on the inside. He's just kind of throwing the strikes, and if they land, they land, and if not, they're not. If he would throw combinations and try to land with the last couple strikes in the combinations, you think he'd have more success, but Schnell is doing a better job at least keeping this fight at a better range for himself.
Schnell did a good job landing the right hand there in that flurry. And he talked about it. He's got the speed when it's in boxing range, but when it's from distance, the much taller fighter, the much longer fighter, and he hasn't really been using it to his advantage.
No, he's been reacting a lot to what Bontorin's been doing to himself, whereas if Schnell was the one throwing the jab out while he was keeping it at range, throwing that teep kick out like he was doing earlier, he'd be having a lot more success. It is a little bit frustrating because when he has thrown strikes, he has been landing. He just hasn't been throwing very much in these last 2 rounds.
And Bontorin continues to push the pace, lands a nice right hand, and then he lands a left to follow it up.
And again, the big actions are always Bontorin on Schnell. Even if you think Schnell's landing the more shots out of these two, the big shots that are landing are always from Bontorin on Schnell.
You got Bontorin pushing, landing a little bit of air, but again, you talk about it, and the perfect fight that really signifies that was that Arlovsky-Bozer fight. You go back, you look at it, the bigger actions were for Arlovsky. A lot of people were disappointed in the overall scoring, but Arlovsky was able to win out that way.
You're never going to let that go, are you?
No, I ended up watching it back, 49 times, like the old Luke Thomas, Max Holloway, and Volkanovski too. I ended up scoring it for Arlovsky.
Oh, ooh, big shots by Bontorin up against the cage.
Bontorin's landing hard.
Yeah,
my God. Whoa, Matt Schnell comes back.
Schnell,
he's hurt.
Chin
He's
at
grabbing.
135. Oh, his mouth guard came out. That's not good for
Bontorin takes a great opportunity to take him down there, too.
Yeah, easy takedown, too, for Bontorin. That was a big moment in this fight, and especially after landing those huge shots up against the cage.
Bontorin gets a takedown. Brandon saying, Bontorin would come in, take down heavy. He did right there. Holy smokes. Referee Kerry Hatley. Bit indifferent if we stop the action to put a mouth guard back in. What's the sense?
I don't even think he knows. Normally they pick it up by now. Kerry Hatley. Wild. Goodness. Matt Schnell, active off his back, going for those ear slaps. Don't do that. Get up to your feet or try to work for a submission. No one's ever won a round by slapping someone in the ear off their back.
Nice forearm there from Bontorin, who's just kind of finding this guard position. And like we talked about in the Chookagian-Arujau fight, Matt Schnell holding on. Not doing a whole lot. He's got the body locked, like he's just kind of accepting the guard here.
Yeah, and you don't know if you're Matt Schnell, if you've won the first 2 rounds, or if you've won any round up to this point. I'd like to see more of a sense of urgency to try to get back up to his feet.
Yeah, I mean, this is a clear round for Bontorin, especially with the flurry that we had. Schnell trying to get out of here a little bit, but he's held down by Bontorin, a minute 8 remaining, and that big weight, now he's in side control.
Yeah, Bontorin passed his guard fairly easily. For Bontorin, this is a very dominant position for him. So for Schnell, again, you got to do everything to either get back up to your feet or try to sweep this position.
Voodoo saying mouth guard's still sitting there. I don't see it. He must have got it.
I hope so. That'd be just awkward if they're rolling around on top of it.
47 seconds remaining. Kerry Hatley's thinking about it. Matt Schnell's stuck under there. Oh.
Yeah, Matt Schnell just accepted a lot of damage in this third round. Definitely lost the third round. The first 2 are close, but there is no question about who won this third round.
Matt Schnell's getting hammered on. He goes for a roll to get out of it. And back in the same position he was in originally.
But yeah, Bontorin just doing a great job controlling on top right now.
Yeah, that's a really, really tricky one there. Bontorin hammering away. I mean, this could be a 10-8 round. Another roll for Schnell. Looking to try and sink something. 15 seconds remaining.
Yeah, for Schnell, again, I don't know why he wasn't working trying to get back up to his feet. When you have that close guard, it just kind of says, like, hey, I'm waiting for the ref to stand me up. And again, I don't think he won. It's hard to say Schnell definitely won both those first 2 rounds. They were that close. It sucks the Bontorin missed weight, but I do think he won this fight.
Yeah, to me, Bontorin, probably a 29-28. Matt Schnell, did I win? Maybe.
But maybe not, though.
Safe so doesn't really look like, he was able to get it. But, hey, you never know. And Conan Song saying Schnell just took life-changing damage. All damage is life-changing, but, I mean, he didn't get finished.
If it was life-changing, I don't think that was Shane Burgos, Edson Barboza.
Yikes. Bontorin with a great round, though, especially in that 30. He definitely took that one, for sure.
Oh, 100%. And, again, normally the story on him is he fades as the fight goes on, but the fact that the third was his best round was really impressive against the guy Matt Schnell, who got a lot of his cardio. He is one of those cardio kings. So if Bontorin is able to win, if he did get the judges' scorecard, which I fully expect him to do, good win for him. But it does suck that he missed weight above the weight class that he naturally competes at.
Gonna be eager to see these judges' scorecards. I mean, we've had controversy in the 2 scores that we did get. I mean, a 30-27 for Grundy. There was a 30-27 for Chukagian as we await our decision. Brian saying 29-28 for Schnell. It's going to be a difficult one, especially as we get a good look at the damage there. I mean, we got a 30-27 Bontorin over in the chat.
It'll be a weird one. Again, the first 2 rounds very close. Round 3, obviously Bontorin. So you could have it 29-28 if you want to just look at it in a positive light for Schnell. But honestly, I've got 29-28 Bontorin. I expect him to win this fight. It would be a bit of a surprise if Schnell won. Because again, if you look at everything through the lens of like, hey, Schnell must have won the first round, must have won the second round, didn't get 10-8 in the third. I think Bontorin did enough to win one of the first 2 rounds, and of course he obviously won that third.
Eager to see what we have. Do we have the native of Shreveport, Louisiana getting the win, or do we have Brazil's Bontorin getting the nod at 135-ish pounds? Bruce Buffer with the decision, and we won't know because we can't really hear it, and it's a little bit behind on the closed captioning.
Here's Bruce Buffer with our official score.
We got Schnell putting his hand down.
Yeah.
Bontorin with the win. Bontorin with the win. Unanimous decision win for Rogerio Bontorin. And I'm not overly surprised based off of what we got. Bontorin, they were close the first 2 rounds. The third round he definitely took. And I mean, if you gave it, a 29-28, 30-27 Bontorin, sure.
Yeah, just don't really know where he goes next from here. So he missed weight at bantamweight. Like I said, he fight at flyweight. Do they make him take a fight at bantamweight? Do they give him kind of like, hey, it was on short notice, we're not going to worry about this one, sort of a pass? I just don't really know what Bontorin does next.
Yeah.
It was a good win, which does suck. But again, the fact that he did miss weight, and not just miss weight at flyweight, miss weight up a weight class, it's just such a terrible look.
You gotta.
I gotta use bathroom before a co-main event.
Matt's leaving me. But
I'm not Joe Rogan.
For Bontorin, again, it is tricky to say what's next. I mean, is it a move up to 135? Talking about being overweight, how much did it affect the pace? He was able to really land with a lot of power, especially in that third. He's able to get the fight down to the mat. Again, you saw the referee, Kerry Hatley, not overly eager to put the mouthpiece back in there, but at the end of the day, Bontorin able to get the win. And Conan Song saying that you're surprised the judges didn't give it to Schnell. That is true. Hoodie J is doing a victory lap. And Brandon's saying good win, guys. So Bontorin able to get the win in our third fight on the main card. But it's insane. I mean, listen, our co-main event of the night, you have Tony Ferguson taking on Beneil Dariush. What a fight at lightweight. Tony Ferguson, the former interim champ. They're showing David Njoku of my Cleveland Browns in the crowd. Love to see it. But, a great fight coming up next between 2 proven vets, 2 proven finishers. And you've seen it, too. I mean, Chuck Liddell. Oh, boy. And Joseph Benavidez in the background. But Chuck Liddell, UFC Hall of Famer. Great to see him at a UFC card with, they're just showing a guy. I can't say I know who the guy is next to Chuck Liddell. But, Larry Love, 0 for 6 tonight. Listen, I had a rough go tonight, too. It is what it is. But, a great main card so far in a tight contest there between Bontorin and Schnell. But, Matt, next, you talked about it. Holy smokes. Dariush and Ferguson, what a great fight we have coming up.
I'm so excited for this fight, because here's the thing. I don't care what version of Tony Ferguson we get. It's still going to be an exciting fighter. Like, Tony Ferguson could be completely washed on the 18th hole of his, golf career, if you will. And I still think he would be able to put on a really, really fun fight. And for Ferguson, they put him in there with a really good dance partner in Beneil Dariush, because Dariush is just good everywhere. And here's the thing about Tony Ferguson that's not a great sign, but it is to a certain degree, so let me explain myself completely. It's not like we've seen Tony Ferguson lose just one way, it's not like it's, okay, if you could just avoid the takedown, you could beat him up on the feet. We saw Gaethje beat him on the feet. We saw Oliveira beat him on the mat. But Justin Gaethje beats most people who he strikes with, and Charles Oliveira is probably the best grappler in the UFC. So anywhere's within that range, I still think Tony Ferguson can find some level of success. So for me, I think we're still going to get a good game version of Tony Ferguson. But my problem is, and I've got to go back to basketball all the time, LeBron James is 37 years old, and he's just starting to look old right now after injuries. This is a guy who at 37 is doing things that most other people aren't able to. Most people at 37 aren't in professional sports anymore unless they're like a baseball player or a kicker in the NFL. It's pretty uncommon to be in, I will say, an athleticism prioritized sport. To be as old as Tony Ferguson and still be competing at the highest level. And for Ferguson, again, last basketball reference, I swear. For Ferguson, he's kind of like that second three-peat Michael Jordan where it's like, okay, I just understand so much about MMA that yes, physically, I might not be the same athlete that I was, but I know enough and gameplay-wise and with fight IQ, I'm at a level where I can still go out there and just go and win a fight. With Beneil Dariush, he's good at everything. That's why this fight's so fun. He can strike with Tony Ferguson. He can take Tony Ferguson down. This fight could look so many different ways, and that's why it's exciting.
It is exciting for sure. And Conan Song saying, seriously, Tony aged 10 years in the last... 10 years in the last year. You see the picture that they show in like the poster where he's got his head shaved. He looks a lot older. Then you see him fight week. He doesn't look as old. He looks more like the picture that we have up in front of us. With Beneil Dariush, he hasn't been using as much just for men. A little bit more gray in there. But again, you have a look at this fight. Beneil Dariush just turned 32 a week and 2 days ago. For Tony Ferguson, just a shade over 37. He has the height advantage. He has the reach advantage. He has lost his last 2 fights, albeit to Justin Gaethje and a really tough out in one half for a main event, Charles Oliveira. So it should be a great fight. The fan vote over on Tapology, 4,249 total votes, 53% Dariush, 47% for Ferguson. That's insane. That's crazy how many people voted, but how many people are that close? And Evan L. just out there hoping for likes. Michael Chaplow saying Scott Coker licking his lips tonight. Yeah, you've had a lot of vets even recently getting, on the wrong side of the L's. So, yeah.
And it's not just the co-main event that's so split down the middle. It's the same thing for the main event, too. Like, the co-main and the main event of this fight night are just so down the middle. Again, that's why this main event, or this main card is so good. Here's the thing, though. Where does Justin Gaethje fit into all of this? Because he's the only guy in the top of the lightweight division right now that doesn't have a dance partner. Tony's fighting Beneil. Perfect. We're all good with that. Dustin's fighting Conor again. Great. What do you do with Justin Gaethje? Because he's beaten Tony. He had one of the greatest fights of all time with Dustin Poirier. Like, he belongs in that area. He just doesn't have any matchup right now. So it will be really interesting. Do you make Gaethje fight, like, Gregor Gillespie next and make him fight like an up-and-comer? Do you give him one of these winners? Like, it'll just be really interesting to see where he matches up with all this. Because I know one thing. Justin Gaethje is another one of those guys. Does it really matter what his record is at the end of the day? No. He could lose 5 fights in a row.
Just like an Eddie Alvarez.
Exactly. There's some fighters where the record just doesn't matter. And with Gaethje, he's always going to be exciting, especially against the best of the best in the lightweight division. So, personally, I'm just kind of curious to see where he's going to slot into this division as it sort of settles over the next couple of months.
Conan Song, so you're from Michigan and also California? No, I'm just kidding. SoCal rep. The comment above that I wanted to get to, Ray Quinones saying, guys, get ready for Ferguson's send-off. He's going to go out on a shield. Is it going to be like when Tyron Woodley fought Vicente Luque and we're going just absolutely balls to the wall crazy in the fight? Or is Beneil Dariush going to try and be a little calculated? You see him with the shots, and especially in this promo pack. Yes, he had the spinning back fist against Scott Holtzman, but he's one of those guys, and we talk about them because they're a lot of fun to watch. So much extension and pop at the end of the shot. Beneil Dariush, definitely one of those fighters for sure. And with Tony Ferguson, he's good in tight. He's good at odd angles. That's his thing. Just so much weird movement. And they talked about it. John Anik talked about it. Brought Freddie Roach in for this training camp. Wanted to shore up some of the defensive holes. So what's his movement going to look like?
Do you think we're going to see a give him sand, Tony? Yeah, give him sand. Because I don't think that works against Beneil Dariush. And this is my problem. Okay, there's a reason some cliches and stereotypes are still around. And when people say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, I do think that there is some truth to that. With Tony Ferguson, you're asking a guy who's been hittable throughout his whole career to finally change that. And I don't know if wash is the word I'm looking for, and maybe it is what I'm trying to say to describe Tony Ferguson. I just think at a certain point, Father Time catches up to everybody. And that's the thing. It's not like Dariush the most durable guy ever. If you're going to beat him, if you can catch him clean, he will go down. So that's the fun thing about this fight. You have 2 guys who can get cracked, who have great jiu-jitsu in their back pocket. I just think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to wrestling. And we can talk about how good the wrestling of Tony Ferguson is and the credentials that he has. He doesn't wrestle a lot in MMA, and I think that that matters at the end of the day. I really do think it matters how much you wrestle in your everyday game. Like, how many times do we hear Justin Gaethje was a collegiate wrestler just to see him not be able to stuff any takedowns from Khabib? Like, it matters how much you incorporate the martial art into your actual MMA game. If you start sharpening that tool, it's going to get sharper over time. I just don't know what Tony Ferguson's going to do. If we get the Tony who's very striking heavy, if he can weather a few big strikes from Beneil and start to put it on him as the fight progresses, then maybe Ferguson can get his name back up there with the elite of the elites. But this is my issue. People know I'm going to bring Dustin Poirier into this. At the end of the day, does Ferguson beat Poirier or Gaethje? Like, those are just terrible matchups for him, because this is what those guys can do. They're going to defend all your takedown attempts, and when it comes to striking, you're a good striker, and you have good cardio and all that, but you're not going to be able to overwhelm strikers of that caliber. So, for Tony, unless he goes out there and, like, submits Beneil Dariush to something wild, I just don't know if he's going to be able to completely change my opinion of him in one night.
I mean, for Steven Britson, Beneil is probably one of the most well-rounded fight. Both of these guys are some of the most well-rounded. It's a shame that, for Beneil Dariush, we talk about, you get your chin checked. He's one of those guys. He's had his chin checked. And even in the fights that he's won, he's gotten hit. I mean, Drakkar Klose hit him a couple of times. Scott Holtzman hit him a couple of times. Now, in that fight,
I don't think that's the example.
Able to finish him. But, it'll be interesting to see what we get out of this one. Benny and the Jets making the walk first out of the blue corner. About 300 tuning in so far. We certainly do appreciate you. It has been the roughest of rough nights for the picks as we kind of round this one out with 3 left. We're 3-6. Not good. Hasn't been this bad in a while. Hoping to end on a high note. Maybe go 50-50.
It's been a fun
Actually,
event,
no, it's been 3-7. So, yeah, it's been rough. It's been really rough.
It's been a fun event to watch, though. Like, excitement-wise, this event has definitely delivered, and we're getting into the 2 best fights of the night already. So, there's a good question. Blake A., do you think Tony retires if he loses tonight? I don't know. And because there's some fighters where you get a good idea, If you lose, let's say 4 fights in a row and you were ranked 3 in the world and now you're fighting guys who aren't ranked and you're losing to them, then yeah, it's probably the end of the road. But if you're Tony Ferguson, even if he loses really bad in this fight, you can still always have the excuse of, I only lost to Justin Gaethje, Charles Oliveira, and Beneil Dariush. And yes, I understand. If you still want to be considered elite, you do have to start winning fights like that. But at the end of the day, you can still say the guy lost to 3 of the best fighters in the world. So I don't know if just losing to Beneil Dariush, just says that it's the end of the road. I think if he loses this fight, give him a guy who's unranked, give him one of those up-and-comers who might be able to make a name off Tony Ferguson, and then we'll go from there.
We'll have to see what happens. Beneil Dariush getting the corner involved. Rafael Cordero in the corner. You know it. You love it. And Matt, I mean, Kings MMA's had a great run here recently. We talked about it earlier on tonight, but Montserrat Conejo, Giga Chikadze, the list goes on and on. Marvin Vittori's fighting for a title here in a couple of weeks. It's insane to see how well they've done. And I mean, really, just add Mike Tyson to the fold, too. And who's he going to fight? Lennox Lewis?
That's the rumor.
Evander Holyfield?
And I'm a big Lennox Lewis guy.
We'll see what happens there. But Brian saying Dariush is the nicest guy in the UFC. Ferguson's the craziest. Hey, sometimes that crazy, it works. And if he can channel it, you never know. But in the last fight with Charles Oliveira just able to dominate with the wrestling and the top pressure. In the Gaethje fight, Ferguson was doing well in certain rounds, but then it was just the accumulation of damage and the pressure from Justin Gaethje, and he really did wear on him in that one. But Beneil Dariush making the walk over to his blue corner here as we await the walkout for what is the song? Something party?
I'm not sure. I just know it's got that like.
No, that's not it. It's not.
No, and then Tony comes out. I know it's got that part. Tony with the ball and stuff. I think this fight's going to be crazy. Like, I'm extremely excited for this fight. It is almost 1 a.m. here where we are, and you have no idea. My energy just spiked immediately because Beneil Dariush would fight Tony Ferguson. And listen, I was telling you guys, we were saying, I might as well just make this conversation with you as well. We get excited when Cowboy fights. Cowboy is completely washed, and I know it. And I still get excited for him just because of the name and sort of what he means to MMA. Tony Ferguson still has tread left on the tires, and I still get that same feeling when he's in a co-main event. Like, when Tony Ferguson fights, you're going to get excited.
I'm excited, and I mean, Blake was happy that you answered the question. Fender Jazz, I appreciate you. You're a lot better than the people of Instagram. So, Matt, we get Tony Ferguson making the walk. This guy was on such a run, and he was the boogeyman. Nobody wanted to fight him. Everybody wanted to fight him. Habib did, but it just never worked out, and now you have Ferguson making the walk. Of course, he's going to have quite the corner with him, and that was the other interesting thing that the man himself, John Anik, was talking about. Listen, I don't have the commentary on, so I can't hear him. Ferguson feeling the effects of the fans, but the party has begun. That's it, Voodoo, you got it. You look at it for Ferguson, and yeah, he was working out at Wildcard Boxing. Freddie Roach, was he going to be in his corner coming out? And John Anik didn't even really know. Like, he couldn't tell from the fighter meeting. So, eager to see what we do get out of Ferguson as far as the corner is concerned, because Ferguson going a little bit into the crowd?
I don't know. I think Tony Ferguson with a crowd is going to be a better version of Tony Ferguson without a crowd. I don't know if that means he's going to win the fight. I just think that he's a fighter who will benefit from the added energy that the crowd brings. Because, hey, listen, it's not like I'm an athlete at all, but I've played basketball games in front of nobody where it's like, it just kind of sucks. It's hard to get into. And I play basketball games in front of a few people, and you get more excited when there's few people there. And some people perform better under that kind of pressure. I think Tony Ferguson's one of those guys. I think he's a guy who really enjoys that kind of, I guess, sort of anxious energy, if you will, that comes from that. And I think it's something that helps him get into the zone and get ready for MMA. I just think at the end of the day, his chin can't eat the shots from Beneil Dariush. And I don't even know if I love the striking of Beneil Dariush. I just think that his steady pace and just overall well-roundedness is going to be a great counter to Tony Ferguson. Because if Ferguson's pressuring Dariush can take him down. And if he takes him down, he doesn't have to worry about the jiu-jitsu afterwards. And I think Beneil can move forward on Tony Ferguson like few others can.
To answer over in the chat, we had one, imagine walking into a dark alley and Tony staring at you. It's probably red eyes, like laser beams from Tony Ferguson, if that were to ever happen.
And he broke his student's rib. Imagine what he'd do to us. He doesn't even know us.
Oh, yikes. Beneil Dariush, like I said, in the blue corner out of Kings. And for Tony Ferguson, he's got his corner. He's got some stuff. Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, it's a really tricky one when you look at this fight. For Ferguson, doing a Triple H, just absolutely spewing water into...
We're in a pandemic, sir.
Yikes, that is something. But yeah, again, you have a look at this one for Ferguson. Just front kicking the turnbuckles.
How confused is Beneil Dariush right now is my question. He's like, what are you... He's still thinking about the poor kid that Ferguson broke his rib off. Like, there's so much going through the mind of Beneil Dariush right now.
Matt, there's a lot of public support over in the comment section for Tony Ferguson. I mean, one of the greatest lightweights we've ever seen, and interim belt or not, he's definitely up there. He's a UFC Hall of Famer for sure. I'm not spreading blasphemy in this one. Bruce Buffer giving us the particulars. Freddie Roach was a late ad. He came in after the fact. So yeah, Freddie Roach is actually going to be in the corner. Neat to see that. And for Tony Ferguson, it's kind of odd not to have Eddie Bravo in the corner now.
Is it? I think a lot of people have gotten off that train, Craig.
It's weird. It's just weird.
Is it a bad thing, though?
I don't know. I really don't know. Freddie Bravo, I mean, used to have a champ in his gym in Ferguson. Used to have a champ in his gym in Alima Lay McFarland. Both neither champs now.
But he wasn't in Alima Lay's corner, though, is my problem. Like, that's the thing with Eddie Bravo. I don't think he's a good corner, man. He might coach fighters, and they might be good. I just don't think he's the guy who I really want in my corner yelling, like, Dead Orchard and stuff at me. Like, I almost swore right there. We got to keep this PG. But I don't know. This is going to be a really interesting fight. We're going to get a lot of questions answered. Because it's either Dariush is elite, or Ferguson, might be washed. And that's a pretty big question. I'm looking forward to the answer, personally.
We shall see what happens, but Hoodie J saying anything can happen. It's always Tony time. Gotta risk it to get the biscuit. About 80-20 for Ferguson. I mean, Ferguson looks hip, game, and ready.
He does look hip, game, and ready. That's something I will always give Tony Ferguson. No one loves fighting MMA more than Tony Ferguson, I don't think. Maybe like Matt Brown, but no one at the top of the list.
Really good comment by John Nils Russell saying Ferguson by awkward KO. Hey, I mean, T-Ferg, he's got that. Chaplow saying he was finished by Gaethje. You got the man himself, Mike Beltran, in there, our referee for this one. Matt, we're getting set for our co-main event of the evening. A couple of great fighters, Beneil Dariush and Tony Ferguson. We'll get the timer set. Make sure you're synced in. Toss a like if you haven't, but we really appreciate you. It is going to be one heck of a fight.
Throw some sand, Tony. Throw some sand.
Jack Roth loving it. Tony Ferguson coming out here. Southpaw to start. Beneil Dariush also from that southpaw stance. And Tony Ferguson gets hit by the first punch.
Not a great sign. For Beneil, again, that classic southpaw stance. Got a great body kick. Got a great left straight. Deceiving power, I'd say, from Beneil Dariush. But again, Tony Ferguson's so awkward on the feet that he is hard to hit clean until you do get into a rhythm.
Beneil Dariush just keeping things a little bit low. Would you worry about... I don't know, an Imanari roll from Tony Ferguson, something strange as he eats a nice kick.
I mean, it's going to be a weird fight. That's one of the few things I can guarantee. Energy up to 100. You're darn right. This is a wild. My palms are sweaty and it just started.
Ooh, nice kick there from Ferguson to the back leg of Dariush. He's going for a left hand.
But Dariush doing a good job pressuring Tony. Not getting backed up by Ferguson, being the one moving forward.
Dariush slipping in on the takedown attempt. He hits a nice left hand on Ferguson.
He is, but he is missing on Ferguson. Ferguson is doing a better job rolling with some of these shots. So if Benil is missing a lot, especially early on, Ferguson should be able to start overtaking him as this fight progresses.
Really weird kicks from Dariush. He's going low to throw those kicks. We saw Ferguson do that in prior fights himself as he gets hit by an uppercut.
Yeah, Benil had a nice left uppercut there at some point. Ooh. Oh, he's just throwing wild now.
Nice right hand from Ferguson. It's a right hand from Dariush who goes for a takedown attempt.
Goodness, this has been a wild pace to the fight so far. Benil getting on top. I gotta be honest. What do I know? We're just talking heads on the internet. Just hear me out.
Tony Ferguson hits him with the up kick.
That was illegal. Now, here's the thing Tony Ferguson does. He does illegal up kicks. He did it in the Edson Barboza fight. He's really bad at judging up kicks, but that was super illegal right there.
Now he's going for a submission attempt from bottom, and you saw it from Dariush. The first time he got into this position, he popped right back up. Now, kind of playing in it a little bit, and he's in a rough spot against a guy like Tony Ferguson to have on bottom.
Well, I mean, as long as he doesn't clear that other leg, Benil's not in any trouble. But right now, in this, I don't even know what they call it now. Dead Orchard's the position on top. Anyways, he can get a triangle from here, but I think you've got to be... I don't think you can get that type of submission on Benil Dariush.
Nice elbows there from Ferguson on bottom. He's doing work. He's putting in the work.
Yeah, he's an offensive fighter off the bottom. He is one of the few fighters who I am comfortable with when he's throwing strikes off of his back.
We're closing in halfway through our first round, and man, we have quite the fight. On the feet, it was Dariush. He was able to work the takedowns in, and now all of a sudden, Tony Ferguson just trying to work the position. He is on bottom. He did lose it there, and Dariush now working from a guard position. But again, Tony Ferguson, one of the busiest fighters you're ever going to find off their back.
Oh yeah, real active fighter off his back. We really see that in all of his fights. Really great at using those elbows from the guard.
Benil Dariush hammering away from top position, but so is Ferguson.
Yeah, but Dariush is definitely getting some back now.
You got a lot going on here in this first round. Dariush trying to move from the full guard, trying to get it into almost side.
Yeah, if you can pass full guard, you're going to get rid of half the, well, really all the weapons of Tony Ferguson, but you just can't get reckless trying to jump anything wild, because then Ferguson's going to get you into a scramble, and those are really the positions that he thrives in.
You get a heavy amount of pressure for Dariush. Ferguson trying to kind of swing to his side. Dariush moves it into an almost half guard.
But Ferguson, he's doing a good job with the butterfly hook on the right side. It's not a full butterfly, but he does have it kind of separating him and Dariush. Dariush finally getting into half guard, though.
And the cage is really the enemy of Ferguson in this position, as Dariush almost going for a head and arm. Ferguson out of it. Works back into... He's in full with the butterfly.
Yeah. Really high-level stuff here on the mat so far. Because Dariush, like, he cuts through most guys on the ground. Like, it's wild that Ferguson's doing this well of a job defensively, but if Ferguson rolls for the leg, he is going to open up his head for some damage.
Yeah, and he does. Now we're back into this spot again from full with the butterfly hook from Ferguson, and he's done a good job of staying busy and really negating some of the attacks from Dariush, but Dariush has been able to land constant, switch position, land.
Oh, Ferguson's done as well as you can off your back, but again, the problem is it's really hard to win a round off your back against a guy who's also landing from the top position.
Yeah, you get Dariush still with that heavy pressure, still from this awkward kind of angle here this far.
But Benil's doing a great job in that top position so far, really staying heavy on top. He's not having the same level of success that Charles Oliveira had on the map, but that kind of tells you what level that Oliveira is down there.
You can see the number there. I mean, over 3 minutes of ground control time so far for Benil Dariush as he works from top position. Ferguson at this point of the round just holding on. And like you said, I mean, on the feet, it was interesting to see the game plan from Ferguson. It looked like the Ferguson of old, kind of rolling with the shots.
Yeah, he was doing a really good job. But again, I said this fight was going to connect to the wrestling of Dariush. And again, it's only happened for the first round, but I do think we're seeing that Dariush is the better wrestler out of these two.
1 round, Dariush. And I don't know what we had on the break right there.
Just a bit of a scuffle, nothing too wild. Tony Ferguson, though, again, the wrestling, he was never going to beat Khabib. There, I'm sorry. If you get taken down by everybody, then you're not going to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. I'm sorry. He can still come back, don't get me wrong, and I still, listen, it's not like Tony Ferguson's out of this fight by any means yet, but I just think that was a matchup that was never really going to go his way in hindsight.
Somebody said 80-20. Hey, we're only one round in. You never know what could happen in the Tony Ferguson show. You saw how active he was off his back, but yeah, I mean, those kicks from Dariush, they were from such an odd angle.
Well, he just had to adjust it after Tony Ferguson was moving the front leg. And I mean, Beneil Dariush, he does have sort of this stiff way of moving on the feet anyway, so it just is brutally effective.
A little bit of a not even push. It is what it is as we get ready for our second round between Ferguson and Dariush.
Be an interesting second and third, because Tony knows he's down one round. He's only got 2 left.
All right, we get ready. Big time round for Beneil Dariush in the first mat. And again, from Tony Ferguson, really kind of going from the weird angles on the feet. And we've seen Beneil Dariush do a good job with these leg kicks. He opens up with another one.
And Tony has good power on the feet. He's got really deceiving power, at least, especially in his hands. So if he can catch Beneil clean, he could hurt him.
Dariush kind of chasing there, looking for the uppercut. I don't know if we had a clash of heads, but with the wrestling, Dariush going so far into it.
Yeah.
Ferguson almost with the submission. Now he's going
for a Darce, but I do think Beneil has his head clear on this. He might not. This will be interesting if Tony Ferguson can pull off a Darce, but this could be a tough position for him to get it in.
It was funny, just even from the tape study going back, getting ready for a main event. You saw the fight where in 2014 Submission of the Year, Charles Oliveira going Peruvian necktie on a takedown attempt. Similar to that. Kind of funny to see that in this fight. Dariush minus 450 favorite according to the broadcast.
Wow.
DraftKings, but
it's a tricky situation though. Beneil Dariush got to be smart and watch P's and Q's because again, this is what Tony Ferguson's better submissions.
Exactly.
Snapdown City originated from the Darce joke.
A lot of defensive submissions in the repertoire of Tony Ferguson. You're seeing a spot where Dariush trying to keep the head clear out of it. Looks like it is.
Yep, just trying to stay smart, stay patient. I don't think Ferguson has the submission, but it isn't allowing Dariush to really progress to anything right now.
Switching sides almost. You get Dariush from an awkward angle again. And that first round was a really awkward angle too for Dariush. Trying to be in that guard. You had the butterfly hook in from Ferguson. Now he's got this submission cranked in.
But you can tell that for Dariush, the longer he spends there, the more comfortable he feels, especially on the mat with Ferguson. And yeah, Ferguson could get close to the submission, or he can hit a few elbows, but at the end of the day, you're not going to be winning rounds that way in MMA.
Now Dariush is out of it, but again, full guard position from Ferguson.
Ooh, big shots from Dariush from full guard. And again, from full guard, it's not like you're getting the best shots off, but again, Dariush generates some good power with these.
Dariush hammering away. He's starting to hit.
Yeah, he is. And again, they're not putting Ferguson out, but those are the shots that are going to change the round for
Trying to stack guard is Beneil Dariush, and you've got these kind of winging shots from Ferguson on the bottom. You see the elbows, and listen, we saw a position like this just last week with Bellator. Peter Queally taking on Patricky Pitbull. Those elbows from bottom, they were ultimately all she wrote.
Gonna go on a limb and say I doubt that's how this finishes, but
Beneil Dariush continues to land here. Ferguson looks like he wants to get up and out of this position.
But for Tony, like, I just don't know what the answer is. Like, we've seen you get out wrestled. We're starting to see you get out grappled in some of these fights. Like, what is the answer for Ferguson? It's not wild card boxing, I don't think.
Yeah, it's really tough to tell. I mean, you know, at this point, you just kind of got to go for anything. But 2:13 remaining. You've got Beneil Dariush in half guard. He's looking to kind of push a bit of a pace.
Beneil Dariush is so heavy on top, too. Like, you've got to be a really good fighter.
As Ferguson gets out of it.
That was impressive by Tony. Tony's trying to spin, but he's going to end up giving his back to Beneil.
Whoa!
Tony's going to end up on top of Dariush. This is a bad position to be in for Tony.
Dariush going for a leg.
Wow, Beneil Dariush is so active on the ground, though. That's the thing. You really can't play around.
Ferguson knows exactly what to do. He's trying to hold it. I mean, we got a bit of a figure four. We're going for the foot. This is how Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair ended.
It just feels like Beneil's always one step ahead of him on the mat, and he is really twisting this leg. Tony Ferguson's got his head back and he doesn't look like happy about stuff. Oh goodness. I don't know if his knees like bad and stuff, but oh my goodness, that looked gross.
Holy smokes, you got about 1:20 remaining. This round has been back and forth. Now Ferguson looking to go for a submission of his own, unable to get it. Dariush back in that full guard.
Shout out to AJ McKee. That looked like a McKee in there for a second.
We've had quite the round. 1 minute remaining in this one.
This has been a fun fight so far.
Watch out for those strikes if you're Beneil Dariush as you try and gain again with that position, but holy smokes.
But the grappling of Beneil Dariush is absurd. The fact that he got reversed by Tony Ferguson and then grabbed a leg and was able to in turn submit Tony Ferguson is an extremely impressive task.
Pete, you are the real MVP. It's tough to look at the chat when you've got such fights like this, but Pete gets it.
This fight has been wild, too.
You've got Beneil Dariush working from half guard now, and he really hasn't been able to move from the full or from the half. He can't progress into a side control. He hasn't been able to get into a mount.
Don't think he wants to, because if you get into a side control or a mount with Tony, that's just going to make there be more scrambles in the fight, and that's the last thing you want against Tony Ferguson. You don't want to be scrambling with him. That's where he's going to have his most success.
Dariush with more of that top pressure, more of that head pressure, and he's looking to try and push again with about 12 seconds remaining.
Still in half guard. It's just been really impressive, the grappling of Beneil Dariush, and especially the wrestling, too.
You got 5 seconds remaining in this round.
Beneil Dariush.
What a round we had between those two guys. I mean, Matt, we've had some great fights on this card, but this is another one of those ones. And Beneil getting a little...
He does look a little tired. This is what I mean. If Tony Ferguson... As long as Tony Ferguson's not finished, he is still in a fight. And if he's able to start putting it on Beneil Dariush in this round... This is where this is where Tony will have the success.
Mike Chaplow saying, still waiting for Tony time. I think Tony time is round 3.
I have a feeling like Mike Chaplow is not a Tony Ferguson fan by the looks of it in the chat. But again, for Tony, he's going to have to find an answer for the wrestling. We've seen him get out wrestled by Charles Oliveira. We've just seen him get out wrestled by Beneil Dariush. And even on the mat when Tony was in top position, Beneil immediately swept him and got back on top. So for Ferguson, do everything you can to keep this fight on the feet.
This is going to be such an interesting third round here because, again, you did see Ferguson. He was able to get some better positions there, but ultimately, the last 2 minutes, more of Dariush. So,
but again, Dariush is definitely the more tired of the two parties right now.
Justice saying, is this Dariush or Oliveira? Can't tell. Beginning the end for Ferguson, but Ferguson ready to go.
Goodness. Brandon LeBlanc, also not a Tony Ferguson fan.
All right, Matt, we get set for a third and final round. Holy smokes, lightweight action.
This is wild.
This has been quite the fight. You got Ferguson switching stances, working from orthodox now. Dariush in the southpaw hits him almost behind the head.
Yeah, but it's not behind the head if Tony moves into it.
It was a bit of a spin there from Ferguson. Nice kick there from Dariush.
Yeah, I'm surprised Dariush hasn't thrown more kicks to the body. It's a really good technique for him.
You got Ferguson rolling with the punches. Now it's Dariush swapping, changing levels, working for the takedown. Defensive submission attempt from Ferguson.
Yeah, he's going hard for that guillotine. But again, I think, Beneil Dariush is way too good at grappling.
Now he's out of
stuff like that. And yeah, he's already out of it immediately and in top position again. And for Ferguson, it's just... He's almost doing like the Dustin Poirier without getting out from underneath. Like, you can pull the guillotine if you're good at getting out from underneath it. Like, we saw Poirier do that against Dan Hooker, and I understand Dan Hooker's not the level of grappler that Beneil Dariush is, but still, you only throw those submissions if you're confident in your ability to get back up to your feet from those spots.
Darren saying, I hope Chandler KOs Oliveira. That's a great one. You've got Tony Ferguson in such a weird spot. We've seen fights in the past, even Chukagian. I mean, do you just toss a knee down and try and change position? Do you put your foot down?
To get to Brian Hayden's comment there, Ferguson's leg is compromised. I thought that too. Let me know if you guys agree. He looked like he took a weird step coming out in that third round. I don't know if that was due to the ankle lock or knee bar or what, because it was a really odd position for Tony Ferguson. I understand he has an awkward level of movement on the feet anyways, but it was kind of a weird step that he took.
Tiago, why does Tony's coach keep saying beautiful? I'm assuming it's Freddie Roach.
Oh, I hope it's not Eddie Bravo, because that sounds like something he'd be doing.
And he's used to more fights that are 8 to 12 rounds, not 3.
That is very true. For Beneil, just do more of the same. Like, I know this might not be as exciting as the first 2 rounds, but like, if you're Beneil Dariush, all this time in top position, in position like this, isn't time that you're fighting off submissions.
And keeping his hands locked in this position so that Ferguson can't snatch an arm up into his legs, able to earn a weird submission. I mean, we're really in Vanessa Demopoulos type territory if we're going for submissions like that with the legs. But Dariush holding position, not really doing much with it. Mike Beltran overseeing the action here. As we have a Tony come on from the chat, but Dariush just side to side.
Yeah, spoiler alert, Beneil Dariush is very, very good at grappling. Now, I thought he was going to be able to out-grapple Tony Ferguson, but I did not think he was going to have this level of success with the wrestling especially. I thought this was going to be much more contested on the feet than it turned out to be, but Beneil Dariush has really showed off a great wrestling game.
Halfway through our third round, this is the first time that we've seen Dariush inside control. We were talking about it in round 1, from guard, from half, and now
Tony's
you have...
his hands clasped now.
You've got Dariush inside, and yeah, Tony with his hands clapped. He's holding on at this point.
Tony's just having a rough time in the grappling. I don't know if this is just a greater implication on the 10th planet system. That could be a debate for others to have, but again, it's just the fact that you see Tony Ferguson thoroughly out-grappled in 2 straight fights, and this was the guy who was supposed to be Khabib Nurmagomedov.
You've got Dariush now in that north-south type position.
Luna Apollo, only 3 rounds.
Only 3, yeah. But you will have an odd 5-round fight that's not for a title or in a co-main event next weekend.
We have Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. That'll be interesting, maybe.
Yeah, Mike Chaplow, I mean, Tony Lang praying, sad to see. It's sad to see. I mean, he's trying to sync up a choke from this position. Not something you see very often.
You can get the darts from the side control. I just don't know. I think Dariush is too privy. Yeah, he doesn't have it tight.
You got Dariush right now just kind of laying it out.
Dariush trying to do like a reverse Von Flu on him, if anything.
About a minute 18 remaining here in our third round. Dariush now moving in a mount.
Full mount. But Tony, I think, tried to. Yeah, that's what Tony was trying
Tony
to do.
rolling out of it.
Yeah, Tony, again. Tony,
going for a leg.
Most other fighters, his grappling IQ would be really high, but just a guy like Beneil Dariush, it's so hard to out-scramble him and outthink him on the mat.
Ooh, heavy shot there from Dariush, and you have to wonder, was there a triangle attempt, but there wasn't really anything there, and now we're back into this north-south type position that we've been in for most of the round.
And if you're Dariush, all you got to do is survive 50 seconds. Like, you don't really have to do anything fancy. You definitely won the first 2 rounds. You're probably going to win the third round. Just keep on controlling him on the ground. Why take any risks if you don't have to?
Now you got more top pressure from Dariush. He's into that full guard position. You got 1 butterfly hook. Looks like 2 here as Matt hits the wall. And Tony Ferguson really has hit a wall so far in this fight.
He has, without a doubt. For Ferguson, like, it's desperation submissions and, like, try to get to your feet and knock him out. Because for Ferguson, like, you're not going to win the fight just throwing these, like, kind of half-ass strikes, if you will, off your back. Those are damaging strikes. They look good in a 5-round fight because you can accumulate them. But in a 3-round fight where you've gotten thoroughly outclassed on the mat, I just think it's too little too late.
10 seconds left in our third round. Yeah, I mean, for me, third round was close. I mean, Dariush had the top pressure. It's difficult to score, but Dariush definitely won the first and the second round. So it'll be interesting to see what we get for a score in this one. But Matt, if we flip it on over to the total numbers, I mean, total strikes favor Beneil Dariush. He held that top position for the majority of the fight.
He won it without a doubt.
And for Tony Ferguson, yeah, I mean, it was just the defense was all he had in that fight, really.
It was, and that was the thing. He was never on the offensive. Like, there was never once a moment in that fight where I was like, oh, I felt like Tony was really dictating where that fight was. He had that one kind of sweep, but Beneil Dariush was just... I just think... I don't really know what Tony Ferguson does or where he goes from here, because I don't think it's a case of, oh, the sport's past him. I just don't really know what the answer is. I just think these are the 3 best fighters he's ever fought, honestly.
I mean, Michael Johnson was good at the time, but yeah, to me, I mean, you had the winner there in Beneil Dariush. He was able to keep that top pressure, like I said, for the majority of the fight. A lot of these highlights that you're going to see here on the broadcast primarily are from Beneil Dariush. And a great co-main event. I mean, very well matched, but again, another fight where Tony Ferguson is trying to fight off his back and not a good position.
No, exactly. And again, we don't really know where you go next if you're Tony Ferguson. Like, do you... I don't really know. Who knows? I hope they give him another one. This isn't like... It's not like they're going to make him quit or anything. Oh, Tony Ferguson just straight up leaving.
Be interesting to see what we get. But yeah, I mean, Ferguson knows that he wasn't able to get the win in that one. And yeah, it was a tricky fight for him. And then moving on, I mean, what do you do if you're Tony Ferguson?
That's the real question. You've still got a big name. You're still, I'd say, you'd still be competitive with still top guys in the division, you'd think. Maybe Ally Quinton next, 2 older guys. It would be a decently fun fight. But yeah, you don't really know where he goes after here.
Beneil Dariush getting the decision win. And Matt, we have another fight where it's another legend taking a loss. I mean, we had it earlier on tonight. Jacare Souza losing against one really tough out in Andrea Muniz, and now you've got a big fight coming up. Charles Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler. Holy smokes. I mean, for Dariush, too, is it Gaethje? Is that the next fight you go with?
That'd be a great fight, honestly. Like, you say I'm excited. And it's not like Beneil took a lot of damage in this fight either. Like, it was a hard fight, don't get me wrong, but it's a fight that he could have a somewhat quick rebound from, so I do think Beneil Dariush is a real problem in this division, and the fact that he is so well-rounded, he can get it done on the feet, he can get it done on the mat, he's so good at jiu-jitsu, like, you have to also be another really well-rounded MMA fighter to beat a guy like Beneil Dariush. So I think Dariush, this is finally his sort of ascension into it being a serious contender at 155 pounds, but again, I can't stress just how excited I am for Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira. Like, we're going to figure out who the best fighter in this division is just up next.
It should be a great fight, Matt. And again, Mike Chappell is saying, no way, they were 10-9 rounds. They were close.
Goodness,
they were.
Mike.
But yeah, for Beneil Dariush, you're looking at most wins in lightweight history at 15. And you think of the talent that we've had. I mean, the Frankie Edgars, the Benson Hendersons, Habib Nurmagomedov, the list goes on and on. And Beneil Dariush right up there with some of the best. And Matt, one half for our main event, tons of experience in the UFC, Charles Oliveira.
Oh, 100%. The guy's been around since 2010. And the fact that it's not like we're talking about him like a Sean Soriano, like a Christos Giagos, where it's like, hey, he's had multiple stints in the UFC. This guy's been able to keep his job in the best fighting organization in the world for well over a decade, which is just a wild accomplishment in and of itself. But the fact that he's not only just stayed with the company, but improved fight after fight after fight, and now he's finally in a title fight against one of the best lightweights of our generation, really. Because that's the thing with Michael Chandler. Yes, he doesn't have the UFC experience, but if you've been following MMA for any period of time, you know just how good Michael Chandler is and just how important he really is to the overall lightweight landscape in MMA. So I could not stress just how excited I am for this next fight.
And I mean, for Michael Chandler leaving Bellator, of course, the names, not quite what they were, but again, the Sydney Outlaw win, you had to come back. That was a big fight. Saitama Super Arena over in Japan, you had the crossover rising with Bellator. He ended up taking on Sydney Outlaw, who was in on short notice, like I said, at 160 pounds, picks up a huge win there, and then after that, he finishes the legend Benson Henderson, and wow, did he ever finish him in that fight. You look at it, I mean, his next time out beats Dan Hardy. What a big win, and doesn't really look like we're going to get an interview from Dan Hooker. Doesn't really look like we're going to get an interview with Tony Ferguson after that one.
I'd hope not.
Well, he didn't get finished, and it's been a trend to interview Finnish fighters recently.
Well, it hasn't happened on this main card, like it happened last time. But again, for Tony, I just don't really know what you do. It sucks. I never thought we were going to see this version of Tony Ferguson. Again, like, LeBron was like, I want to stop playing basketball before I can't dunk anymore. But we're definitely seeing Tony Ferguson who can't dunk anymore. Like, this is sort of the past prime Tony Ferguson. I don't really know what version of him we get next or who you can match him up with going forward. Maybe we do just try to do, like, a money fight at 170. Do him versus Nate Diaz or something stupid. But yeah, it'll be weird seeing how they match up Tony Ferguson moving forward.
To really answer the question there, I mean, we had Voodoo, I believe, who said that you don't really have a top 5 fighter in Beneil Dariush. Let's have a look at the rankings, because again, not long ago that Tony Ferguson was up near the top. You've got at 1, Poirier, Gaethje, Oliveira, Chandler. Ferguson was 5, then McGregor, Dos Anjos, Hooker, Dariush. To me, Dariush makes a pretty darn good case that he's up there, and this wildlife is also hanging out. So, listen, I absolutely can't wait for our next fight. You've got two really prime athletes in Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira. You've got the great Muay Thai out of Oliveira. You've got the great striking, and again, a guy that's really worked in a southpaw approach from Michael Chandler to great effect, too.
Oh, 100%. And it feels like it's technique versus power in this fight. And I understand both have crossover in the other, but Charles Oliveira, like, when Meryl Streep said, oh, if there was no diversity in TV, you'd only have football and mixed martial arts, which are not the arts, she's never watched Charles Oliveira fight. Now, am I surprised Meryl Streep has never watched Charles Bronx Oliveira compete? Not very, but when he fights, it is like a beautiful thing to watch. Like, when Charles Oliveira fights, it's not just this, like, brute strength. He's very technique over brute strength. It is certain, like this, there's this kind of delicateness to what he does almost, although he is extremely violent in the cage. So I think this fight is going to be so much fun no matter where it takes place. But again, I do think Oliveira is going to win. My final prediction and my official kind of prediction is I think he's going to hurt Michael Chandler at some point, and I do think he's going to submit him after that. I just don't think Michael Chandler realizes the type of fighter he's going to fight when he's on the mat with him. And yes, Michael Chandler is a great wrestler. He's got great power in his hands. I just think when you're on the mat with Charles Oliveira, you are always in danger. And I just, it's hard to pick against that guy.
Charles Oliveira, I mean, he's gotten his chin checked. He's been finished before. Michael Chandler never been submitted in his entire MMA career, a career that spanned Strikeforce. His Bellator debut against Hold Me Now, I'm 6 feet from the edge, Scott Stapp. He had a big win over Scott Stapp, but you look at it for Michael Chandler, incredible Bellator run, 3-time champ at lightweight, the win over Eddie Alvarez the first time, he loses to him the second time, absolute barn burner fights, loses to Delaware Brooks twice. And then after those 3 losses, it's like, oh, yikes, we got to come back from this somehow. And Chandler was able to do that. The one last loss against Patricio Pitbull, who was able to finish him quite easily. But Patricio Pitbull, one of the best fighters at 45, let alone 55. And hey, if the guy could conquer 35, and we had a Patricio Pitbull fight against Sergio Pettis, you know I'd be there for that. it looked like there was a little bit of smoke and fire with Juan Archuleta, but hey, Pettis your champ now. But for Michael Chandler, what can't this guy do? I mean, great wrestling, great submission abilities, really good ground and pound, positionally very aware. And for Charles Oliveira, what can we say? I mean, we're talking right up at the top or near the top with Cerrone for performance bonuses. We're talking the most submission finishes in UFC history. Second most submission attempts in UFC history. Like, he's up there with guys like Jim Miller in some of these record books, but he's beaten guys, you know, the likes of Damian Maia with submission finishes. And hey, Gerald Meerschaert has more submissions at middleweight, but it is what it is if we're comparing apples to apples for Damian Maia. But in this fight, Matt, Charles Oliveira is good in so many different positions. That's what makes this fight so tricky.
Yeah, again, Michael Chandler's in danger all the time. And it feels like the narrative's sort of the opposite, where it's like, oh, Charles Oliveira, like, how is he going to beat Michael Chandler? I'm looking at this the opposite way. Like, how does Michael Chandler beat Charles Oliveira? Because in my mind, if they're at range, Charles Oliveira is going to be the one landing with more volume. Yes, Chandler can land that big shot, but I think Oliveira, with his okay power and with my question marks around Chandler's durability, I do think Oliveira can hurt Chandler, especially on the feet. And at the end of the day, if we saw those types of transitions out of Beneil Dariush on Tony Ferguson had like 2 moments against Dariush. He didn't have that many moments. He didn't even have anything against Charles Oliveira on the mat. Like, that's the type of grappling that we're dealing with in this fight. And I saw a question up there. I forget who asked this, sorry, but it was, do you think Oliveira has what it takes to hang with Khabib on the ground? Probably not, because I just don't know if anyone has what it takes to deal with Khabib on the ground. And Khabib has the mix of not only the really just evolved submission game, he's got that dangerous ground and pound and the wrestling as well. So it's probably a no for Khabib, but I still think he's good enough for Chandler. For Chandler, it's weird. If you lose this fight, you're 1-1 in the UFC. Who really knows where you go from here? If he's able to win, though, I'm assuming you get the winner of Poirier, Conor McGregor 3. I don't know about you, Craig, but I'm pretty sure Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler would be one of the greatest fights of all time. So I think that no matter who wins this fight, and really no matter who wins that fight as well, we're going to have just... Here's the great news. The lightweight division is in great hands no matter what. And that's just a good thing. Like, it's the most stacked division in really all of sports right now, and it couldn't be in better hands.
Justice saying Chandler has to fight a perfect fight. That isn't likely. For CA on point, Charles is just a guy. His wins are over mad guys. Yeah.
Tony Ferguson, a mad guy.
You look at the names at 45, even in the loss column. I mean, there's some big names there for sure. And hey, this is a very, very important win. Not just because it's for the title, but for either guy. For Michael Chandler, you touched on it. I mean, the guy's only had one fight in UFC, and boom, you're in title contention. This is a guy that I thought his peak, his prime, would have been a few years ago when his contract ran out with Bellator, and it seemed like there might be a reunion or a marriage with the UFC, and it just didn't happen. So, Justice saying Bellator is full of mad guys.
I mean, he's not wrong, but you're not 100% right.
Yeah, you came to the wrong place if we're going to come with opinions like that. Yeah, there's guys in the top, whatever they have, 10 that they update every couple of weeks that are a little bit silly.
Valerie Laredo.
Yeah, but when you really look at it, there are some really, really special fighters over there. AJ McKee, you talked about it. Pettis looked great against Archuleta. There's a great 35er division. You saw James Gallagher in the corner of Gina Mazzani earlier on tonight, and for poor old Gina, her cardio just evaded her. But Matt, with Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira, I mean, we talk about it. We're so jazzed for this fight. How could you not be? Do you see a finish here?
Yeah, I can almost guarantee one. These guys both really only win by finish, and neither guy's the most durable. That's the weird thing. Like, it's not often that you have a champ and one of their qualities isn't a really good chin, but I would say neither one of these guys have the best chin.
Former Bellator lightweight champ is the graphic on the UFC broadcast, and you talk about it. I mean, hey, John Anik used to be a Bellator guy. Now he's a UFC guy. Over in the comments section, a little bit of commentary on Ryzen being full of mad guys.
I was going to say, Miguel, that's a great point, though. He's like, Ryzen is full of mad guys, but Yuri got next. Like, even if it's full of mad guys, there's still some great fighters and some great talent over there. You just might not be that familiar with them yet. And that's the great thing about Michael Chandler fighting tonight. You don't know how good he is until you do. And the fact that he is fighting Charles Oliveira on an 8-fight win streak, who's looked as good as he has, we're going to get a lot of those questions answered.
And we've seen Michael Chandler on the Instagrams. He's been riding small Cadillac SUVs, drinking straight hot sauce, getting ready for a fight with Poirier. So you got a guy that has his aspirations set quite high. He wants to fight the top of the top. It's kind of like the Gaethje marriage, World Series of Fighting over to the UFC. You get a win in a fight of the year against Michael Johnson, you're off to the races.
Okay.
For Chandler, though, older in his career, he's had more losses. Obviously, Gaethje came over with that squeaky clean record. For Michael Chandler, this is a hugely important fight. For Charles Oliveira, He's been in those deep depths. He's had those losses in the UFC, and you talked about it. He's been with the promotion for over 10 years. And when we talk in that territory, we had somebody recently, John McDessie, and you're like, yeah, he's been around, and he's been at lightweight for that long. There's been some really good names on that record. Listen, for Charles Oliveira, I bet there's a guy that wakes up with Oliveira nightmares in Nick Lentz, but this guy has really caused issues for a lot of fighters. I think we're going to see a finish in this fight. I have a hard time trying to go either way. I said at the start of the week, it's pop and popcorn for me. Listen, the whole card's been bad for Craig, if we're all being totally honest. But Kick's good saying Chandler's going to knock out Charles. Zach Montgomery has Chandler first-round knockout or Charles by submission. I can't wait for this fight.
The blonde hair was the way to go for Charles Oliveira. I don't know if it boosted his talent, but like it's really changed his whole life around. It's him and Derek Brunson, two of the bigger advocates for bleaching your hair blonde. But again,
Phil Haas
as well. I can't say enough great things about the game of Charles Oliveira. Just when it comes to wrestling, that was really the only question mark we had about his game. You knew how good his striking was. You knew how good his jiu-jitsu was. It was just, okay, how is he going to get the fights to the mat? And yeah, we saw him out wrestle guys like Clay Guida, but he's a little advanced in his career at this point. When he out-wrestled Tony Ferguson, it wasn't even close. It was body lock takedowns, trip takedowns, single legs. Like, it was just a really impressive variety of takedowns, if you will. So the fact that he's going in there with a guy like Michael Chandler, who's such a good wrestler, how does Charles Oliveira get this fight to the mat, or does he get it to the mat? And if he's not able to get to the mat, is he going to have enough success on the feet to then hurt Michael Chandler? Because for Chandler, I really do think he only needs that one bomb. And for Oliveira, I think he can hurt Chandler with one shot. I don't think he can knock Chandler out with one shot. And that's the very big distinction between the two.
Nice to see, and again, you saw it from all of those pro fight or preview interviews. They show Charles Oliveira hanging out with the crew, investing in his training, giving everybody the high school bleached haircut. So yeah, the boys are gonna go back. They're gonna be just
I could do it.
ripping clappers from the blue line and just snipe Selly. That's the way it is in that corner. But I'm really, really looking forward to this one. It should be a great fight. I mean, SC Shoop, you want to see the belt on Charles so bad. The guy deserves it. Listen, he's been around for a very, very long time. Crazy to think, too. Young fighter somewhat, too.
I don't think Michael Chandler's a young fighter.
Charles Oliveira,
yeah, it's weird. And again, I'm going to steal the Teddy Atlas quote, but you can't judge a guy's age by, like, what their number is. You have to judge it by how many fights they've had. And Charles Oliveira's had a ton of fights, and a lot of really hard fights, but I do think he's a fighter who really has kind of hit his stride later on in his career. It's taken him a long time to learn those lessons and to get better, but I think at this stage of his career, he's got the wrestling, he's got the striking. Now he's always had the jiu-jitsu, but it's just such a big ask as they hug as he comes into. Very cordial, these two men are.
You love to see it. Michael Chandler creeping around following. Charles Oliveira tied for first with most finishes in the UFC at 16 with Cowboy Cerrone. Cerrone wasn't able to do anything last weekend to up that number. First in submission wins in the UFC at 14. Second in fight of the night bonuses at 16 behind Cowboy Cerrone's 18. And then second in submission attempts 35 behind Jim Miller's 45. 16, again, bonuses, 10 of them performance of the night, 3 sub of the night, 3 fight of the night. He had a submission of the year in 2014, the Peruvian necktie win over the man himself, Hatsu Hioki. So we get ready, Matt, for a main event. Chandler, 4 years older, 2 inches shorter, a little bit less reach, but boy, can this guy crack, and has some great wrestling out of the University of Missouri with such fighters the likes of Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley. Now, you don't love the records of late for those guys, but you do like the connection. Chandler, again, a Hard Knocks 365 guy, Sanford MMA guy. He spent time there. He owns the gym in Nashville, Tennessee. The boys with MMA on point, they've got the inside track over there.
Good on them.
And hey, Jason making the big move. I know they're doing their version of this over on their channel, but Jason making the move over to England. So wish nothing but the best for the boys.
I really like their content.
I had the chance to write a couple of different things, and I get along great with Jason. So again, wish them nothing but the best. But huge fight. And not the fight that we expected for the title. You would have thought Chandler. You would have thought Poirier McGregor. The first fight, there probably would have been a belt on the line. No belt. They rematched them. The money fight. This one for our belt. It is vacant, of course. Habib Nurmagomedov. We had the decision. Then we had the decision 2.0. They made us wait, but he is not coming back. He is Eagles FC all the way. And Michael Chandler with the American flag and Charles Oliveira with the Brazilian flag. Okay. Again, 2 great fighters at 55.
Zach Montgomery, I think Michael Chandler's pulling a Draymond Green with his height. I think he lied to someone and said, hey, I'm 5'9", and people are like, I mean, he's got pretty big muscles. I'm sure he's probably, 5'9". He's a lightweight. He's a UFC. He's like a WWE 5'9". Like Shawn Michaels was building at like 269 pounds. Then you're like, okay, well, Shawn Michaels is smaller than most middleweights in the UFC. I don't think Michael Chandler really is a 5'9". He's a short king like Rogerio Bontorin. But if that's proved anything, height doesn't equal heart, to quote Kyle Lowry. And Michael Chandler could get the big dub. But again, for Michael Chandler, he can really prove kind of a lifetime of career accomplishments in one fight. Because if you lose this fight, then okay, you're Bellator champ. Who cares? But if you win this fight, then it really does kind of add the Bellator championship into your legacy. It doesn't sort of just exclude that and say, oh, he was only good over there. If you're able to be the UFC and Bellator lightweight champ, like that's a really, really big accomplishment in MMA that only Eddie Alvarez has been able to do up until this point. So if Michael Chandler is also able to accomplish that task, like it's not a triple crown like it would be in baseball if you lead an average RBIs and home runs, but that's still a really impressive thing to win a title in Bellator and the UFC.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Chris Cyborg, the only Grand Slam winner, and it's tough, especially if you're a fighter in the men's divisions. You can do it KSW or Ryzen, Bellator, UFC, but holy crow, do we have a huge fight. And I heard it up there, Evan L., hear that crowd. Got a couple of videos from friend of the show, Tebe. He's been sending them along, so I'm looking forward to using his nice wide-angle shot for some of the thumbnails coming up. So, Canadian country music legend, Tebe. Make sure you check him out. Little denim on denim. It's been tough to have some denim on denim tonight, Matt, but we have an intense AF main event.
This could be such a good fight. It really is, and as we just get ready to start. Here's the thing. I see a lot of comments saying Bruce Buffer's getting people fired up. I'm happy Bruce is having an on night. Because when Bruce Buffer's having a really good main event and he's getting into it, there is few things better in sports.
Matt getting set for a main event of the evening. Vacant lightweight belt on the line. You saw how good lightweight was in your last fight with Beneil Dariush getting the win over Tony Ferguson. We are set. Chandler coming out of the orthodox stance. We talked about it in the pre-fight. Nice leg kick.
Big leg kick already from Oliveira. And that's the thing about Oliveira. He does have the kicking game that Chandler just sort of lacks.
Yeah, and Chandler, you saw it in the first premise fight where it was that nerve injury. You saw it affect him. And now you've got Oliveira really starting to prod with those front kicks too.
Yeah, Oliveira's kicking game really has developed a lot as his career's progressed. And it's something that he can just keep guys so far away with his kicks and his punches at this point that you're either all the way on the inside when you're fighting him or all the way on the outside. It's just a tough place to be.
Chandler going with the angles, going with the left or right hook to the body, and then going left up high.
Ooh, good left hook though by Chandler. Oliveira's in on a takedown though. Chandler trying to get the...
Chandler going
Oliveira's been submitted by guillotines in the past. Ricardo Lamas got him in a guillotine. Anthony Pettis got him in a guillotine. Just something to point out as he immediately gets out. Now one of the greatest black belts of our generations on top of Michael Chandler.
Charles Oliveira now working from half guard, looking to try and push. And wow, Michael Chandler gives up his back.
But this is my problem with Charles Oliveira. He's in every position at once. Like every time you move, you're just helping him more and more and more and creating more space and you're creating more struggle.
Early on in the fight, both guys still, unless somebody was greasing, were both quite dry. Oliveira just looking to hold here, trying to get position. He's got the back of Chandler.
It's a bad place for Michael Chandler, though, when Charles Oliveira has your back with only a minute and a half into a fight.
A little bit of blood raining down. It must be off Oliveira. Whoa!
I don't think that was the play, because now he's in a full body triangle with Charles Oliveira on his back with 3.5 minutes left.
Michael Chandler spending the energy.
This is not the place you want to be.
Oh boy, Charles Oliveira with the back. Again, eager to see where the blood's coming from, because we can't really tell. If, looks like it's from the eye.
I think he might have caught him with his head when he bounced off the ground, but interesting open to this fight.
A lot of time for Oliveira to work, and like you said, he's got that body lock. Michael Chandler's in a rough spot.
And he could jump armbar too. That's the thing about Charles Oliveira. Like, just because he's fighting for the neck right now doesn't mean he won't jump armbar off this.
Chandler in a world of hurt. Now, again, we talked about this in the build-up. Again, Primus had him. It was closer to the cage, and after that, Chandler was able to get out of it. Round ended. Chandler, whoa! Ooh, look at that.
Michael Chandler did a great job scrambling, getting on top. But if you're Chandler, just disengage. I wouldn't mess around with Charles Oliveira at all on the mat.
Oliveira now, we're halfway through this first round. Chandler standing, Oliveira with his back to the mat.
Wild opening round of this fight so far, though.
Ooh, up kicks there from Oliveira, and you got Chandler in top position. And if you're Oliveira, you don't want to be there. Another up kick from Oliveira.
But again, Chandler's gotten out of the worst part of this fight so far. If Oliveira has your back and you've been able to get out of that, you've already done a pretty good job.
Yeah, I mean, great work there from Chandler. Again, you talk about him expending energy with the old backpack throw. Oliveira getting back up to his feet.
Wild opening round so far, though. Both guys having success on the mat, and that's the thing. When Chandler is on the feet, he has big
nice
power, just landed a big right hand. Oh, Oliveira's hurt.
Oh, Chandler's got him hurt.
If he hits him 2-3 more times clean,
That's going to be it. That's going to be it.
He's hurt bad. Oliveira is rocked up against the cage right now.
Ooh, Oliveira on his back. Chandler running in there.
But for Michael Chandler, you gotta stay smart and you gotta stay patient. If I'm Chandler, I just let him up. Like, I wouldn't mess with him at all on the mat. That's where he's had any level of success.
Chandler looking at ground and pound. Ooh, you got about a minute 30 remaining, and Michael Chandler had him absolutely rocked.
Yeah, he had him hurt up against the cage, and that's the thing you always gotta watch out for with Michael Chandler.
You know,
Goodness, what an opening round.
submission attempt here from Oliveira, not really able to do anything. Nice elbow from Chandler. He is landing hot and heavy.
Yeah, he's doing a good job making sure these shots count.
Ooh, another tough one. We're talking Lyoto Machida level ground and pound off that.
Ooh. Shout out to the Dragon.
Michael Chandler here in guard. This is where he does his work. This is the office for Chandler.
Oliveira's going to do everything he can to just survive this round, try to get to the next one.
Michael
He was
Chandler
hurt too.
still here from full guard. You got Oliveira on his back. The blood continues to flow to the right eye of Oliveira.
In full guard right now, and that's the thing. If you're Chandler, I would just get up to the feet. He's landing good ground and pound, but I just wouldn't mess with Oliveira at all on the mat.
It's a really tough spot if you're Oliveira. You got Chandler coming in here. It was half. It's now full. And now you've got Oliveira in a position we've seen so much tonight, just pulling guard and holding on tight to limit the advances.
Yeah, he's trying to survive to the end of the round. He's trying to spread the legs of Michael Chandler, try to spread out some of that base. But again, this has been a wild fight. Both guys been in a lot of danger.
Oh boy, what a fight we've had so far. And I mean, for Michael Chandler, you've already been in your opponent's best position, able to get out of it.
Exactly. And on the feet, the one time you landed a combination, it hurt your opponent. So for Chandler, his confidence is going to be through the roof already.
What a round we've had so far. 5 seconds remaining in our first round. Michael Chandler able to do a lot of damage there.
I would say Chandler round one without a doubt.
I would also say Chandler. That's a 10-9. But man, the fans are into it. Holy smokes, what a round we had there. Wow.
A little bit of everything too. Some little grappling, some little striking. Just the power on the feet of Michael Chandler is really the difference maker.
You love to see it. Michael Chandler able to land great. And we talked about it. I mean, going side to side, working the angles with his striking. But that left hand, Michael Chandler was always an overhand right specialist, but we've seen him incorporate that left more and more and really land well with the hooks.
I mean, yeah, Michael Chandler's always had great power in his hands. That's the thing that you have to watch out for. He doesn't have that much of a kicking game, and I'm kind of surprised he was able to get out of all those submissions on the ground, but great job for Chandler so far. And again, it's probably going to be more of the same if he is able to land on the feet.
Chandler able to do a great job up against the mat, and it didn't even look like a lot of that right hand landed, but he was able to get the best of it and put Oliveira in a world of hurt. Listen, if you're talking about a main event where you get a little bit of leeway, Dan Miragliotta gave Charles Oliveira some opportunity to recover there.
If he stopped it, I'd be pretty upset.
You would. We get ready for the second round of 5. Chandler versus Oliveira for the title.
Oliveira's got to get some...
Oh! He dropped Chandler!
Wow! She hurts Michael Chandler. The first punch he threw.
Oh, he gets him!
Chandler's hurt against the cage.
Oh my god, he drops him! Oh, Charles Oliveira! Oh my god! Oh! Charles Oliveira, your champion! Holy smokes!
It doesn't matter how good you are at fighting. If you're chinny at the end of the day, it does not matter.
Oh my gosh!
You want to talk about left hooks?
Charles Oliveira is your champion at lightweight! Oh my goodness!
Wow!
Holy smokes!
That was wild. And here's the thing. You can't say Charles Oliveira quits anymore. Because he got dropped by Michael Chandler, got his head beat in for the first part of the fight, and came back and knocked him out. What an end to the night.
That man is not a quitter. He is your lightweight champion. Do Bronx Charles Oliveira. Wow.
Wow. Good for him, though.
Holy smokes. That is the biggest win of your life, Charles Oliveira. And we have another Brazilian champion. And for Michael Chandler, fights to make. But he had so many opportunities. That was a wild first round. But oh my goodness gracious, that second. Charles Oliveira comes out like a bat out of heck.
He threw a one straight right into a left hook. Chandler had no respect for the striking of Charles Oliveira, whatsoever. And Oliveira hurt him with the first strike. And this is the problem with Michael Chandler. Just in Gaethje, for instance, if you hurt him, he's fought. Like, unless you put him out, he can recover. He has a really good recovery after you hurt him with a shot. Chandler has a hard time recovering after you hurt him with a shot. And that's exactly what happened. Charles Oliveira, the man's got pop in his hands now.
Holy smokes. So, I mean, hey, listen, does a fight between Dustin Poirier or Conor McGregor against Charles Oliveira, does it sell?
Yeah.
Who cares? What a
Does
finish. Holy smokes.
Wow.
Wow. Michael Chandler, listen, there's going to be another fight. There's going to be another day, but holy smokes. For Chandler, I mean, man, what a performance. He looked great at the end of the first round. But the pressure of Oliveira in the second round, able to win it out, and the pop at the end of those long, long shots and a nice kiss to his opponent.
Charles Oliveira, very friendly man, I'm sure. Just a wild fight. Charles Oliveira and new.
Oh
that
my
is
good.
absolutely insane. He whips that left hook around and just catches him clean across the chin.
Left hook drops him, and he follows it up with some great shots. And I mean, listen, you talk length, Chandler running away from the shots. Holy smokes. Charles Oliveira, do Bronx. And there's so many fights to make. I mean, again, the winner of Poirier and McGregor. You've got Justin Gaethje hanging out. You got Beneil Dariush. Like, this division is in a great spot.
Oh, it really is. Like, you put anybody in the top 10 together in the lightweight division, and it's going to be absolute fireworks. What a main event.
Oh, man, what a fight we had right there. Wow. Young King, I told you guys round 2. I don't remember it, but yeah. Thiago is saying the guy comes from the poorest favela in Brazil to become champion of the world. You love to see it, but man, what a big win for Charles Oliveira. Talking into the mic, I mean, geez, we didn't get that, but holy smokes. What a win for Do Bronx.
He's just made a massive evolution throughout his career, and yeah, this guy's a problem to beat. He's good everywhere.
Oh,
yeah.
What
Wow.
do you want to see next for Charles Oliveira and for Michael Chandler? Let us know
Dustin.
over there in the comments section, but man, both guys brought it tonight.
Oh, they did. Like, Michael Chandler didn't look bad by any means. But again, this is my problem. I have the exact same opinion about Michael Chandler right now as I did before he ever came into the UFC. That's the thing. Like, if you've been paying attention to Bellator, and people threw some shade at us, and they were like, hey, Michael Chandler, like, oh, he's just a Bellator guy. We did say Dan Hooker was going to lose. We thought he was going to beat Dan Hooker, so we both had Oliveira to beat him. I feel like I have an okay read on Michael Chandler. He has extreme power on the feet. He has a really good wrestling game, but he's not a durable fighter. And at the end of the day, when you're fighting guys like Justin Gaethje, like Charles Oliveira, when they land, they're going to hurt you. And I just think when durability is not a big X factor for you, like, it's a big problem. Great for Charles Oliveira.
Huge win for Charles Oliveira as he gets the celly in, but wow, what a win.
There's Sanjos Chandler. There's a great call.
That would be a great fight, too, for a guy that doesn't have a fight book. But huge win for Charles Oliveira. The Bleach Blonde crew wins again. Matt, what a night of fights we've had so far. Not the greatest of record through, you know, the prelims. We got the first one right. We got multiple wrong. And on the main card, the only one, there was only one. So a 4-1 out of the last 5. A good end to the night, but overall, pretty tricky one. Really do appreciate over in the chat everybody that hit us up. And yeah, I can't wait for next weekend. 14 fights. Hermanson, Shabazian in the co-main in the main event. Power in the hands. Rob Font taking out Cody Garbrandt. I can't wait for it.
It's going to be a wild fight. That might as well be a boxing match. Just an outlaw kicks for that fight.
Absolutely looking forward to it. Again, appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you didn't toss a like yet, please do. If you haven't subscribed, you're missing out, but really looking forward to next week. We'll see everybody over there. And Matt, as we always say, with Fight Night Picks, let's get into it.
Oh, wow! Michael Chandler with a beautiful shot. Dan Hooker is down and he is hurt.
Oh! Chandler's got him rocked. Chandler by TKO. Wow! What a debut by Michael Chandler. UFC lightweight. Holy smokes! Wow!
He just flatlined him with the right hand.
Herb Dean, come on, man!
Masvidal's ew.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
That was an Askren-level finish. Oh, he knocks him down.
Backhand by Francis. He's got him hurt.
He's going after the finish. Big uppercut from Ngannou. Stipe engages. Oh, he dropped him. Ngannou's your champion.
Wow.
Francis Ngannou's the heavyweight champion.
Stipe cold.
Wow. What a finish, man. 9-1 on the night. 8-2 in the question mark kicks parlay hit. Fight Night Picks. Wow.
Wow.
Francis Ngannou. Holy smokes. Oh, man, give him the stool.
Who knew Patient Francis? A scary man.
Let's get into it.